All right, hello YouTube. Welcome to Geekery Abides, episode 38. And yeah, we're here once again, same bat time, same bat channel. Let's go ahead and hit the intro and get started. I almost hit the wrong pedal. That would have been Barney Gumble instead of our intro.
Oh.
He who is ashamed of his geekery has forgotten the face of Stan Lee.
This is the podcast, Geekery Abides.
Hello and welcome to Geekery Abides, episode number 38. We are here to talk all things geeky that are not Stephen King related. My name is Tad.
Wrong show. My bad.
Peter jumping on my toes here. What kind of co-pilot does that, sir? I just saw a thing where they were interviewing Harrison Ford, and he was talking about the first movie. He's like, I wanted to get on the set for the cockpit and stuff. And he's like, but the paint wasn't dried yet, so it took forever. And he's like, then when we finally got in there, he's like, my co-pilot couldn't fit. He's like, if you ever noticed in the first movie, you never see him stand up or sit down in the cockpit. He's like, because he couldn't fit. He's like, they basically had to wedge him in there, and he's like, it basically wasn't. Like, it was like a whole ordeal to get him in and out of that set. He's like, he's like 7'5" or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that makes sense.
That would do it.
And then in Empire, you do actually see him like sit down and stuff.
Yeah.
So like they obviously fixed the set. But with me is my co-pilot, Peter. So
sorry about that.
Peter getting a little froggy.
Ribbit.
All right, yeah, so we are here for episode 38 of Geekery Abides. Let's go ahead and jump on in first to the emails. If you want to email the show. You forgot until just now, didn't you? In terms of forgot about the shame that we had at the end.
No, I remember.
No, not remember to check, but just I feel like that there was a moment in your eyes there where it's like you maybe had forgotten about your forgetting.
Nope.
No?
I had remembered, and I went and checked before we started the previous show to make sure. And I do apologize to Mike and I don't remember who the other
was.
one.
Mike, Carol, and I thought he had 3.
Carol was from months ago. I did read that one, and we actually did talk about that subject. Mike and John both emailed top 10 video games that they would like to replay for the first time. I had the wrong email signed into my phone, so I totally missed those. My apologies, Mike. And John, I'm very, very sorry. Sorry. And
shame.
Yes, I know. I deserve that.
Shame.
I know.
Oh,
I'm
man.
sorry.
My algorithm's been feeding me so many Game of Thrones clips.
She's in Ted Lasso, isn't she?
Yeah, she's the boss in Ted Lasso.
I don't want her saying shame to me. I love her.
Rebecca?
Yeah, Rebecca.
Yeah, she's great. But yeah, so if you do want to email us, you can send those over to us directly, either Peter at geekeryabides.com or Tad, T-A-D-D at geekeryabides.com. We do produce the episodes every other, so this is a Peter episode. If you wanted to like feedback on a topic, email either of us directly or have show ideas or anything you want. Or
if we're doing a top 10 like John and Mike did, send in your top 10s and we'll include them in the show.
Yes.
Going forward.
Yes, indeed. So that is the emails. And next up we got watching, reading, playing.
All right, you're going first this time because I went first last time. So I'm in charge. You go first.
All right. So watching is quite an extensive list.
Let's hear it.
Doing a lot of watching. So The Acolyte, Star Wars The Acolyte, still watching that. Still watching The Boys, newest season. Mayor of Kingstown, newest season. House of the Dragon, newest season. Got my light half-hour show. I'm watching that 70s show.
Okay.
First time I've really watched it. I've caught episodes over the years,
Yeah.
especially back in the day when it was airing, but I've never actually watched it straight through. And it's a good show, man. I'm actually enjoying it.
Yeah.
It's good. I remember it was after a movie one night. I went to a later movie, and I was like coming home, and I was like, I just want to throw something on to unwind for a second. But yeah, it's got to be something like 20 minutes. I don't want like a 40-minute episode or something. So I guess I could have thrown a Acolyte on. But no, that 70s show. Then movie wise, I went and saw The Bike Riders. The new Austin Butler, Michael Shannon movie was really good. Then I went and saw a documentary called Conqueror: Hollywood Fallout. It's actually
John Wayne?
Yeah, it's a documentary on the John Wayne Genghis Khan movie. But it ended up being kind of a twofold thing because they covered that movie where 90 out of 200 people ended up dying of cancer, so almost a 50% death rate, as well as
including the Duke himself.
including John Wayne, yeah. And they ended up also roping in and talking about like the downwinder thing for southern Utah.
Yeah.
Although I did learn in that downwind actually affects a good chunk of the country, including a lot of northern Utah. So not just southern Utah, even though when we were kids and you saw the whole, ambulance chaser advertisements where it's like, if you or one of your family has this kind of cancer, you may be entitled to compensation.
Mesothelioma?
Yeah, like all those, like it was always like aimed at southern Utah, but yeah, apparently that thing was saying they actually have had like spikes in cancer rates in St. Louis, Toronto, stuff. So yeah, that was quite a bit. So that was a really cool documentary. It was actually funny too because it was just randomly on at Regal, and it said it was like premiere, which was weird. And I went and they actually had the director and everyone there, and they did like a Q&A and stuff. So it was
like physically at the theater.
At the theater, yeah.
Here in Utah.
Yes. And then
that kind of makes sense. It was all about Utah, I guess.
Yeah. So at some point when that gets on streaming, I would recommend it if you're into like history, Hollywood history, or nuclear fallout type stuff. I also went and saw A Quiet Place Day One. That was an interesting thing to go see on 4th of July night. One thing, I could hear the fireworks through the walls the whole time, which is very interesting in a Quiet Place movie. But also too, I have been to Tuesday afternoon, Wednesday afternoon, weekday times at that theater that were busier than it was that night, which makes sense.
It was a holiday.
It's also a very night specific holiday.
Yes.
So
people don't go to the movies on 4th of July.
Yeah, it was like
unless they're a psychopath named Tad.
It was like the deadest I've ever seen that place parking lot wise. Like it was clear
okay. I could see it going both ways for this question. Did that make the movie better or less enjoyable? More enjoyable or less enjoyable? Because I remember you telling me
like in terms of like the noise or not a lot of people.
Both. Because the thing, not the fireworks. Because one of the things that you told me about the original Quiet Place, and I still kick myself. There's two movies that I regret not seeing in theaters. Like absolutely regret. Guardians of the Galaxy is for the first one. I was just like, I don't need to see this in theaters. Absolutely regret that. And then A Quiet Place, because you told a very distinct story about A Quiet Place, about how people wouldn't eat their snacks because it was too loud.
Yeah, wouldn't eat their snacks.
It was just
like when I was leaving that theater opening weekend for the first Quiet Place. Yeah, I was seeing people leaving with like full buckets of popcorn. Their drinks were still full. Like everyone was just
like, you pick up your drink and the ice sloshing. You hear it, and people are like, "Shh."
Yeah, it's not that you shush you, but you wanted to be quiet. Everyone was so like in it that it was like they didn't want to be loud because the creature might hear you.
Yeah, it just puts you on edge and everything. So that's why I was wondering, less people, less enjoyment. Because I know you enjoy that.
I would say, I think people have gotten so used to it now. I don't know that people act. Even the second one, I don't think people acted the same way they did in the first one.
Okay.
So I think the novelty wore off a tiny bit. But I will say it's a first ever for me because it was in the RPX theater, which that's 400 plus seats probably.
Yeah.
There were two other people in the theater.
That's it?
A couple. So it was me and two people.
Three
people in that fucking theater. I've never been in that theater that empty before. Even when it's like, I remember shortly after COVID, like some movies, right when theaters are starting to open back up, and it's like, oh man, there's only 20 people in here or whatever, But like when I looked around, I was like, God, there's two people, and they're way up in the back. I was like, this is weird.
This is a weird experience.
This is very weird. Yeah, wonderful movie though. I also went and saw Maxine, the third in the Pearl X Pearl. It was X, then Pearl was a prequel to that, and then this is a sequel to X. So X is the original movie.
So Pearl, X, Maxine in chronological order.
Yes.
In release order, it's X, Pearl, Maxine.
And
okay,
then,
not
and
confusing
then
at all.
Pearl is like the killer in X. So like after X, like you go and Pearl ends up showing like you like the backstory of the killer. Maxine is the victim, but it's after the fact. So it's like you kind of get two different directions chronologically, but they're also
from two different characters,
two different perspectives of characters. So
Okay.
I will say there was at least one part in Maxine is one of the more groan-inducing things I've ever seen gore-wise.
gonna be saved for the new show.
Every man would.
Not the privates.
Trauma
to the groin.
Ungodly, ungodly trauma. And it was.
I haven't even seen it, and I'm already cringing.
And it was very visible too.
Oh,
very bloody too.
Dad.
Disgusting.
That squishy noise at the end. Sounds
Too
about
much. Too much.
I also threw on and decided to watch Escape from New York.
Kurt Russell.
John Carpenter classic. That's a wonderful one. And then last night went to see Longlegs.
I was honestly curious if you were going to remember that or not.
Oh, yeah.
You've forgotten movies that you went and saw in the last couple days when we're doing Geekery Bites. So that's
I will admit I threw it on the list knowing full well I was going last night. So I put it on the list a few days ago, but I had my tickets purchased.
You preemptive struck.
Come hell or high water, I was going to be in that movie theater with Hato Potato.
That's a good movie. I need to rewatch that movie.
What?
Hell or High Water.
That is a good movie. I always get the clip is very common on Instagram and Facebook where they go to the diner.
Yeah.
What don't you want? We serve, what is it, like a steak and a baked potato. So you either don't want that fucking battle axe of a waitress.
Yeah.
They're both just like stunned.
Good Lord.
I love her. She's so great. And then I'm reading The Stand, and then I'm still playing Ghost Recon Breakpoint. So not a lot's changed on that side, but watching it, there's been a shitload.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, my wife threw in the chat. She went and saw Inside Out 2. She's watching A Good Place, The Boys, iZombie, and Receiver. Reading Nothing, playing A Little to the Left. It's a puzzle game, and Disney Dreamlight Valley.
So you guys watching The Boys now?
We have watched 2 or 3 episodes.
Okay.
Honey, help me out. I don't remember if we watched 2 or 3. So yeah, for mine, it's The Boys. I'm watching Star Wars: The Acolyte. I'm caught up on that.
Okay.
And then we are watching Receiver. Our favorite team has 2 players in that. The Netflix show about wide receivers.
Oh, yeah, I forgot they were doing that.
That came out this week. Yesterday, actually. The 12th was the premiere, if I remember right. So we started watching that. We're a few episodes in. You would like it. I don't know. Did you watch Quarterbacks?
No. Well, I also don't have Netflix right now.
Oh, that's right. You don't. Never mind. And then the other thing is that this morning I needed a movie. Wife and the kid weren't up yet. Needed something hour and a half, 2 hours long. Happened to throw on Apple TV Plus, and I watched Greyhound.
Oh,
with
yeah.
Tom
Hanks. Yeah.
Have you seen that?
No, I need to watch it at some point. He actually did a podcast with Dan Carlin, Dan Carlin, and they kind of covered, like, it was like his press tour for that movie. So
I will say that is it's probably in my top 10 World War II movies already.
Really?
It was phenomenal. Nonstop.
Was he the captain now still?
He was the captain now still.
Okay.
He was absolutely
He didn't
the
get
captain.
usurped?
No, he did not.
Good. It'd be weird if it happened to him twice.
It's not weird that it happened, but the fact that it happened twice. But no, yeah, so I watched Greyhound this morning, and it really kind of caught me off guard because it's only an hour and 31 minutes.
Yeah. Have you watched Midway yet? At one point you were wanting to watch that, and I didn't have the digital copy.
You didn't have a digital copy, and when I looked, there was nowhere that was streaming.
It's on my digital now, though.
Is it?
Yeah.
I don't have access to that. So, yeah. We'll talk about it after the episode.
Yeah.
I'm reading Greyhound, not Greyhound, Swan Song, the book you were recommended, which set in the early 90s, late 80s. No, late 80s because it's still the Cold War.
Still the Soviets.
Soviets nuke America. America nukes the Soviets, and it's the fallout. A little interesting stuff is starting to happen there, but it has been slow going with work being so busy for me.
Yeah.
And then I have only been playing 7 Days to Die. That is ever since the big update, that's all I've wanted to play. So.
I haven't really been playing a lot. I mean, I throw Breakpoint on every time I turn my game up, but I haven't even played MLB for a couple weeks now. I'm not playing a lot of games right now. I don't know why. Just hasn't been
in a watching mood.
Yeah, hasn't been in the mood. So
my wife says she thinks we watched 3.
So was there something in episode 2 that you were just like, oh my god?
Dude, I will tell you right now, that hit us a lot worse than it hit you and Hayden.
Yeah?
That is a character from a previous show that we've watched. That actor plays a very, very wholesome character at first that turns out to be a dick. Kind of turns into a bad guy in later
ass.
seasons. Oh,
Yeah!
I might throw up. That's disgusting. But yeah, so it was really, really jarring for both of us because that scene happened, and then it's a couple scenes later, I had to use the restroom, so I paused it. And if you remember on Amazon, it has the actors.
Yeah.
Well, that actor was up, and she instantly recognized him. She's like, "Oh my God, that's the guy that plays Chuck in Supernatural."
Also, I think
Which
they have
is the showrunner, the
Yeah,
show
yeah.
creator for Supernatural is The Boys.
They just confirmed the other main actor of Supernatural's in the final season of The Boys next year or next.
Jared
next season.
Padalecki's going to be in The Boys?
If that's his name, I don't know.
It's Jensen Ackles, which was Soldier Boy, and Jared Padalecki was the other brother in Supernatural.
Yeah, I saw the comments. Everyone's like, "Oh, finally!" And so I
Yeah.
assumed it was probably the last big actor from that show. That
It's not the last big one, but it is the brother. But yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
what-
My wife was, dude. She was traumatized.
So I guess
she was absolutely.
I guess I'm
traumatized.
just desensitized because I was just like, because I think I told you even before you'd watch, I'm just like, there's certainly some stuff. It's The Boys after all, but I'm like, there's nothing that like took me so aback because I'm like, I'm so used to everything at this show that it's like,
Yeah.
you're not going to shock me anymore. And that's not like a challenge. It's just a matter of like, I am going to assume that the most heinous shit possible is going to happen. When a dude sneezes and blows through a guy's dick, and what was that, season 2? Like,
Yeah.
when shit like that's happening, like,
No, 3 wasn't it?
I don't remember.
That was last year with Soldier Boy, wasn't it?
Or yeah, are we in season 3?
No, we're in 4.
4. That's what I thought. Yeah,
Yeah.
whatever it was. But it's like, it just feels years. I mean, even the first episode, a freaking woman gets liquidated. So it's just like, it's not a knock at all because there is still shocking stuff. But I'm just to the point where I'm like, I almost expect shocking now. So it's just when people are like as rattled as some people have been this year, I'm just like, how? This show is like,
You got to realize it's been a minute since we've had The Boys, Tad, and for us, a lot of that was forgotten about because we didn't do a rewatch.
yeah, that's true.
It's not something that you're just going to throw on and be like, la da 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 da. You know, this is fun
Yeah.
to rewatch. It's, oh my God, what kind of horrible, depraved things are we into now?
Yeah.
But yeah, so we still got to get caught up with that.
All right, so
That's where we're at.
just before I dive into the news, I do have something I was going to bring up.
Go ahead.
This isn't like a normal, like, whatever, but it's a discussion point that has come up online since The Boys started.
Okay.
And I wanted to get your take on it.
Okay.
People are questioning Homelander versus the Joker in terms not fighting each other, but in terms of people are basically saying that they believe Homelander has usurped Joker in terms of the realm of like absolutely fucking unnerving characters that every time he's around, you're just on edge. And like, I know at first my first knee-jerk reaction is like, well, the Joker's untouchable. And it's like, I don't know, man. Because when I watch The Boys, every time he's on screen, I'm like, I'm on edge. I'm like,
Yeah.
this guy could do fucking anything at any time.
Yeah.
So it's like, I could see where people come from. But I'm just curious, you're a bigger Batman fan, where it's just like,
Yeah.
because Joker's probably the most, because it's weird, because it's like, not that he's the most evil, but I think he's the most like,
Erratic.
yes, I was thinking random, but I was like, there's a better word for it.
Erratic.
He's the most erratic, where it's like he could just be like chumming with his arm around your shoulder 1 second, and then like 2
Stabbing
seconds
you in
later,
the ribs.
2 seconds later, he
Yeah.
pulls a gun out and shoots you in the fucking
Or
head.
shooting
Like,
acid in your face from his flower.
yes, like,
Yeah.
and that's just him. So I think that's why people are comparing him, and probably that Joker is one of the more iconic, like erratic, like you're on edge. Like,
I'm gonna say that I agree with what they're saying about Homelander. I'm the same way. He's just, dude, he's freaking me the fuck out.
Yeah.
He's creeping me out all over the place.
on multiple levels.
And I've only watched 3 of the episodes, so I haven't even watched as much as you have.
No, and
everything
it
like
was
that.
right around the premiere that people
And-
started bringing it up, and I in terms of just because it was like, oh, we're remembering the show again,
Yeah.
and that discussion came up, and I've been
Yeah.
wanting to 2 or 3 episodes now. I've wanted to like bring it up and just get your thoughts on it, because
Yeah.
it's just like I can see where the people are coming from, but you are a bigger Batman fan, so I was curious what your
I have one thing that I will say is the difference between Homelander and the Joker. The big difference is that Homelander is in a very controlled state when he's around the public.
Yeah,
we've only seen him lash out once, and he got applauded for it. So
Yeah.
is that going to happen again, kind of thing?
Yeah.
And everything.
He has the expectation of being good. People,
Yes.
He's almost held in by
Yes.
public expectation.
Exactly.
Of, you're the hero.
Is that going to change as the season progresses and and things are changing with the political landscape? That's terrifying to think about.
Yeah.
And I think that if that was the case, then we could have that discussion about which one's better.
Like when he
But
tells
I'll
her
tell you
to,
right-
when he tells her to release the footage or whatever it was that season 3?
Yeah.
When Starlight is saying, I'm going to release the footage of whatever it was. And he's like, release it.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. It's like, then I'll have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
And he's like, first thing I'll do, I'll just wipe New York out just for fun.
Yeah.
And it was just, that moment
Yep.
is one of the ones where it's just like,
Oh my God.
yeah, it's like, you have no leverage.
Yeah, and that's where I think he's getting to Joker. I don't think he's there yet.
I think that the trade-off, because I thought,
the thing with the Joker is that you never want to be in a room with Joker.
no, yes.
You never want to be around him because you never know if you're going to be the collateral damage.
Yeah.
With Homelander, I don't feel like he's there yet unless you're in his inner circle.
I think the trade-off, because I've had those similar thoughts, maybe not worded the same way, but I've had similar thoughts, but I think the trade-off is the superpowers.
Yeah.
Like, that's almost, it's like, so yes, Joker is more free to be evil, but Homelander can, like, you have almost no recourse with Homelander.
Yeah.
Like, if he
there's
chooses,
nothing you can do.
if he decides to come after you, you're fucked.
There's
Like,
nothing you can do.
Yeah. Whereas Joker, it's like, go see if you can find Batman or just get the fuck out of Dodge as
Or
far
try to go to the police even.
Something, yeah.
Like the police can still thwart Joker. They have
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
It's not always Batman
Or the
that has
IRS.
to stop them. The IRS is who you really want to go for. If the Joker's after you, you go to the IRS because Joker don't fuck with no felonies like Al Capone.
Yeah, but no, it's just it's an interesting discussion
Yeah.
because I think I've been saying it for a little bit now, probably since season 2 or 3, that like I think Homelander is getting up into the realm of like one of the most like one of the greatest villains in like at least television history.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, and that's a heavy hitting category. I mean, Hannibal
yeah.
exists on television as well, so it's like, and it's not to say he's tops everyone yet, but it's just a realm of like. He's a good fucking villain, man.
He's in the conversation. Like if you had a club and there's a joke online where it's the evil club with the how it should have ended.
How'd you know about that?
Huh?
Our
They make
meetings
videos.
Our meetings are pretty secret.
They make videos about it. They have like Voldemort in there. They got Megatron. Like the villains. But I feel
All
like
my
if there
favorite
was,
characters.
I feel like if there, yeah, it's exactly what it is. It's all the villains. Zod's in there and he's always wearing a neck brace. But I feel like if there was a villains VIP, I feel like Homelander is welcome, sir. You just made the list.
Yeah.
I feel like he's in there. And I would see people like Gus Fring in there.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I think Gus is probably maybe my all-time if I had to pick TV-wise.
TV-wise.
So great.
Yeah.
Movies, that's a different category.
Movies
Darth Vader's probably winning that.
Darth Vader owns the fucking bar.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
So-
it's his ballpark. You're all just allowed to play.
It's actually really funny because it is a bar in the animated shorts on YouTube. Palpatine is the owner and operator. He's like the bartender. He has like the frilly things on his arms that keeps his sleeves and everything.
Yeah. I will say as well, Homelander's milk fixation as well.
So disturbing.
It's so
unsettling because I fucking love milk. Like
Yeah.
I will just go get a glass of milk with my wife who's lactose intolerant. Just looks at me just like, God, how can you drink that shit?
So does Homelander.
And I'm
He
just
gets
like,
a glass of milk.
I know, and I'm just like, and then he gets a milkshake for his son who accidentally kills someone, and it's just like, and I'm just like, don't ruin milkshakes too. Like you've already ruined milk, not milkshakes. What's next? Cheese? I swear to God, if he comes for cheese, I'm gonna find a way to murder him.
Or pizza.
Oh,
Disgusting.
I will not allow it. I will go full butcher on him.
All right, so now we'll jump into the news then. I just wanted to bring that up. And since we were just talking the boys, and especially since you guys have finally dived in, I felt it was an adequate. And I actually had it on the list to talk about today. I was just going to do it at the end of the news. But since you mentioned the boys that you guys are actually watching, it's like, all right, we'll move it to the front.
Let's
then.
do it.
So, first of all, news-wise, unfortunately, we have lost Shelley Duvall.
Yeah.
She passed away, I think on Thursday, if I remember correctly. And we just found out on our last podcast, somebody mentioned in the comments that she died from diabetes complications.
Yes.
It always has to pause to not say diabetes.
Yeah.
Goddamn Wilford Brimley. But yeah, sad to lose. And of course, we know it doesn't necessarily exactly work, but we'll play it because it's our tradition.
Good night, sweet prince.
legendary. She's known obviously for The Shining is probably her most known, but she was also in Annie Hall, one of the movies that beat Star Wars for an Academy Award in 1977.
Unreal.
Yeah, and then she was also, of course, in Popeye, which I would say is one of the greatest castings of all time.
With Robin, right?
Yeah, with Robin Williams, but her as Olive Oyl, like she looks like that fucking character. Like that's on the same realm as Patrick Stewart and Xavier. Like it's just wild. So those are like the ones I grabbed for it. Yeah, she's a wonderful person, and it's sad to lose her. She's always been an awesome lady. So let's jump on over next to. That's the wrong pedal.
There we go.
My pedal slid over there. There we go. Next up, we got a rumor that apparently Sydney Sweeney is in talks for a Jedi role in Star Wars.
Okay.
So no word on it. Sydney Sweeney. Trying to think of what you would know her from. She's kind of all the rage right now. She was in. You haven't seen Immaculate, but it was the twin movie to the first Omen. See Euphoria, Handmaid's Tale,
Madam Web,
White Lotus, Madam Web. She's kind of one of the big up and comers now.
Oh, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Who was she in that?
Snake.
Oh, she's one of the freaking family members. Ugh.
Yeah. Handmaid's Tale. She's been in a lot of shit.
Okay.
She's kind of blown up on the scene in the last probably like 5 or so years, and doesn't look like it's slowing down any time. But yeah, she's a great actor. She's done a lot of wonderful things. She rocked it in Immaculate. So yeah, the rumor is that she was going to be she's in talks for a Jedi role. No word on if the role is going to be in the Rey movie or the Filoni movie or something else entirely. I mean, honestly, we're at this point now, or even the fucking Dawn of the Jedi. There's movies all over the place where Jedi can appear. So
yeah, it'd just be nice if we got one of them. I was complaining about that at work to our mutual friend, our coworker, who is a huge Star Wars fan, and I was just like, man,
next
it's
year,
been
right?
too long since we've had a movie.
Yeah, next year is Boba Fett, Mandalorian and Grogu. Isn't that 2025?
I have no idea.
I thought it was.
I don't know. I'll look it up.
Mandalorian and Grogu, or Baby Yoda, as he's more. Oh no, 26. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
it isn't next year. But they're filming it. I think they're filming next year. So yeah, I don't know. I agree. It's been too long.
It's been way too long without a Star Wars movie.
Yeah, 2019. So it will be 7 years.
Yeah,
that's wild. I mean, it makes sense though. We're outside of a trilogy, right? So it's not like we're still waiting on the second or third movie of a trilogy.
I think what we were talking about at work the other day is that he kind of helped me realize that what had happened was that I had a movie every year for 4 or 5 years there.
Yeah,
because we had Solo and Rogue One
that
in between
filled the gaps. Yeah,
the 3 movies. So I had so many Star Wars movies coming out.
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden to go cold turkey with nothing for 7 years is just.
But
it sucks, dude.
With the Bob Iger stuff, I do think that. I don't think any of these are like gonna disappear. I think these are all gonna happen, right?
Hopefully,
because like he said, he's like, we're a movie company, we're not a TV company. So
yeah.
I think that television we're probably gonna see a little bit less of, but which actually gets into our next thing, because Tim Morrison has been publicly pushing for a Book of Boba Fett season 2. I'm not sure that it's going to happen because the reduction of television, but as a Boba Fett fan, give me Boba Fett anywhere. But I do think he's going to probably show up.
Boba Fett movie.
Yeah, he'll probably show up in the Filoni stuff, I think. But quote, he says, both her, Fennec Shan's actor Ming-Na Wen, and I want to work pretty hard to keep the hope that they might carry on and do 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7. The actor revealed, I've been trying to nudge them in that direction too. It needs more nudging, but anyway. So he's very chill dude. But yeah, it sounds like he would want. I mean, what I always tell people is I feel like some people like freak out. Oh my God, they want to do another season. I'm like, dude, these people, you don't realize how hard it is for some of these people to find work. Like actors don't have a job they go to every day. Like they've got to fight for work. So it's like anytime people are like, oh my God, like the dude from Walking Dead just recently said he'd be down to do 4 to 6 more seasons of
Andrew Lincoln.
No,
Norman Reedus.
Yeah. And I'm like, people are like, oh, whatever. I'm like,
this dude's had a steady paycheck for 12 years,
exactly.
14 years.
And it's like, I just don't think people understand the way, like, the whole gig economy of, like, of writers or directors or actors in Hollywood. I don't think people realize what that is. Most of us have very consistent jobs that we just know are there and we go every day, whatever. But these guys don't. So it's like when they get something, like, I just don't know why people act so surprised where it's like, oh, my God, they're willing to do more seasons. It's like, yeah. It's a job. They want to keep working.
I mean, at the same time, you do have a lot of actors who don't want to get tied down to TV shows because
Certainly.
they want to get
Yeah.
they want to get movie deals and they want to go from project to project because they're a little bit more. I don't want to say artsy because that makes it sound like condescending, but you know what I mean.
But I think if they're hot enough of an actor, then they know they've got roles. But I think there's a lot of people that aren't in that A+ tier that, like, for them, like, they kind of have to fight for roles. Like think of some of the people in Oppenheimer outside of the top guys. There's a lot of big names in there that are big names, but how many of those people are people that you see in a movie every year?
No.
Not very often. Alden Ehrenreich, I don't know if I've seen him. I mean, he was in Solo. Then I think he did one thing with Spielberg, maybe the West Side Stories, and then Oppenheimer. It's like, that's 3 movies over the course of like 6-7 years.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. It just always baffles me because people act like, like, oh my God, like, we'd be graced if this actor would be so willing to do this thing for us. And it's like, well, they want a paycheck, so they're probably willing.
Well, of course they do, especially after a strike, too.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the other thing is, like, a lot of these guys haven't worked for a while.
Yeah, they've depleted their savings.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and move on.
You know that cocaine's expensive, huh? I mean,
yeah, indeed. Or the steroids if you have to put on a bunch of muscle for a role.
Yeah.
Next up, we got a rumor that Sean Levy's Star Wars movie has actually nabbed its writer. This isn't official yet, but Jonathan Tropper, who is best known for writing the Adam Project, which was a
Ryan Reynolds
Sean
movie.
Levy. It was his movie. Sean Levy directed that, as well as the TV series Warrior. He's was writer on both of those. I find this notable because we've largely heard nothing about this film, so this is an indicator that it is still in active development. And the fact they're signing a writer means this isn't just like Taika Waititi. Like, I don't believe that's even a real thing. The Taika Waititi Star Wars movie.
Okay.
I just don't think that's real. I think that's one of those, like, hey, if you want to pitch us, like, we'll go ahead and write a script and we'll listen to what you have in mind. Mm-hmm. And then that gets reported that Taika Waititi's working on a Star Wars movie, but it's like, if he comes to them and they're just like, we're not into that, that's like, it's not a real thing. But this is, Sean Levy was the same way. I was just kind of wondering, is he just hot right now because of Deadpool? And they're like, well, we'll do a Star Wars movie with you. But the fact they're hiring a writer now makes me think, like, okay, maybe
he came in, did his pitch, and they're like, "Yeah, we'll get you a writer.
Yeah, we'll get you a writer." And so
let's do it. Let's talk numbers.
It's promising because I think there's been a few times I mentioned the Sean Levy Star Wars, but in my mind I've always been like, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But now I'm starting to think,
when you have the definitely going to happen, might happen, and I doubt it.
Yeah.
It was over in the I doubt it.
Yeah. Or the no chance in hell, like when Tarantino was saying he was going to do a Star Trek movie.
God.
That was never going to happen. Next up, apparently Henry Cavill is going to be starring in a Highlander reboot.
Nice.
It begins.
I heard this one.
I have not. When I was doing the research on this, I think as it mentioned, basically that the article I found mentioned that it's going to start shooting in January, and I was just like, I missed that this was even a thing. So I was like, well, I'll report it here. I love Henry Cavill.
Here's how I found out about this: is that I recently watched the newest season of The Witcher.
Oh, okay.
And so I looked up because there's a big drama that Henry's leaving Witcher.
Yeah.
But they're going to continue the show.
I've heard that.
Which doesn't make any sense because he's
the show.
The Witcher.
Yeah.
That's like, all right, we're going to move on from The Mandalorian and we're not going to have The Mandalorian anymore. But we're going to still do The Mandalorian, just not with
It's easy because he's in a helmet. It'd be
no. The character.
Yeah, okay.
The whole character is going away.
I mean,
but it's still going to be called The Witcher. It's like okay, Ted, House of the Dragons. Okay, we're gonna make House of the Dragons season 8, and we're gonna have it about a farmer who lives up north. Wait, what about the dragons? No dragons. Yeah. What about the House of the Dragons? No House of the Dragons.
Well, hey, if they go 8 seasons, all the dragons might be dead by that point.
It's kind of weird. So I was starting to look into that a little bit, and that's where I actually found that Henry was in talks of doing a Highlander reboot. And I'm like, oh, that fits.
Yeah,
like he already is The Witcher. He could do Highlander.
Yeah, that'd be pretty fun to see. There can be only one, of course.
That's right.
Also, Mandalorian, that's doable as long as Baby Yoda's there. Now, if you say they're going to do Mandalorian and Baby Yoda's going to cease to exist,
that's what they're doing with The Witcher, and it just makes no fucking sense to me. We're going to keep doing the thing that you helped us create, but we're not going to keep you around.
Yeah.
It's very Frank Darabont of them is what it's feeling like with The Walking Dead, how you felt.
Yeah.
Like, he helped make this. Like, he made this what it is, and it's a phenomenal.
And he was the main reason I was into watching it. It's like, wait, a zombie show? Maybe. Oh, Frank Darabont's behind it. I'm fucking there. So, and I only lasted one season with him not being there, and I was just like, I'm done with this.
My wife says if they take Baby Yoda out of Mandalorian, we riot.
I mean, justifiably so.
Right?
Yes, he is that show. He is Star Wars at this point.
Right.
Until he gets replaced, not replaced, but until someone like knocks him off that hill, he is the brand right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Ahsoka can maybe try to make a run at him to take that spot, but I don't know. Chopper maybe? Homicidal robot?
No, war criminal.
War criminal. Next up, Feige talks about what he is most excited for. So now we're getting into the Marvel corner, which is the most extensive this week. So Kevin Feige is talking about what he's most excited for. This is the from the official Marvel podcast, which I've now listened to.
Which just started, right?
Yeah, it started. 3 episodes in now. We covered some parts of this interview before, but I missed this. Didn't get brought up in the article that I found, and I was listening to it and I heard all this. I'm like, we got to cover this. So he said, the host asked him, like, hey, what are you most excited for coming in the future? He says, the corporate answer is they're all our babies and we love them all equally. And I'm
bullshit.
I'm very excited for Deadpool and Wolverine and then Agatha all along and Captain America Brave New World and Thunderbolts asterisk, which he actually said that. Thunderbolts asterisk. And new Daredevil, and that's all true. But if you want the real answer, if we're trying to get real on the podcast, the answer is the Fantastic Four. I'm incredibly excited for what we're doing with the Fantastic Four right now, and with Matt Shackman, our director who did WandaVision for us, is working on it. He's already moved to London, and we're starting to film at the end of July, and that's actually funny because right after that's when he states what we covered last episode, where they're actually for day one of filming is the day after Comic-Con.
Yep.
So we covered that, but that goddamn article didn't cover the rest of that, where it's like that's what he's most excited for right now.
Like, come on.
It's like, how did you leave that out? Then he goes on and says, and I'm extremely excited by it because I think that those characters are mainstays and are legendary pillars of the Marvel Universe that we've never got to play with or explore in any significant way, apart from Multiverse of Madness and a few fun teases before in the way that we were doing it in that film. He says, so I'm extremely excited for that, and I'm also excited for the 2 Avengers movies, and that'll be after Fantastic Four. So he's circling what probably my most anticipated is, because I don't count Deadpool at this point. It's too close. Like
it's out.
It's like
it counts. It counts for a movie.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
You can't count it, but I can't.
It doesn't count.
That's not fair.
No, because you don't. What if it sucks?
This is bullshit.
What if it sucks? Then that wouldn't be.
It was an honorable mention. I didn't put it on my top 10.
But it's on a trilogy right now.
It is a trilogy.
Until Thursday.
It is a trilogy.
Until Thursday.
You can't have it both ways.
Oh, I can.
No.
I can.
This is bullshit.
I can. So yeah.
This is bullshit.
That is my most anticipated too, is Fantastic Four. I'm super excited for it. I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff. I don't have it on my rundown here, but the Captain America 4 trailer came out.
Yeah.
That looks fucking incredible.
Looks so good.
There's so much good stuff in there. We got a Celestial Hand finally. First time since
What's that?
Eternals
came
out.
I don't know what that is. I've never heard of that. It's never happened in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Everyone's been bitching about it for years, but it sounds like it's actually going to be the center. Well, there's speculation that it's going to be potentially the center of this movie, and like adamantium is going to be drawn from it. Like
that's where we discover adamantium,
which we actually covered in the rumors a few episodes ago, that this movie Cap 4 was going to introduce adamantium to the MCU.
Yeah.
And it's like, so now that being brought up, that's where people are connecting the dots and going, I wonder if it's made of adamantium.
Yeah.
But then there's also been some speculation that what if that's the suicide mission that Thunderbolts are on, to go and get adamantium off of that thing. So it sounds like 2 movies might be very heavily influenced off the Celestial thing, after people bitch for 3-something years now that no other thing has acknowledged the fact that happened. And also, of course, Red Hulk. How can we not mention Red Hulk at the end there?
If you didn't see Red Hulk in the trailer, watch the trailer again and stay till after the title card.
Stay till it stops. Yeah. A lot of cool stuff in there. Harrison Ford.
Shave the mustache. Lose the stash or lose the election. I love that line.
Yeah, playing Thunderbolt Ross. I am still wondering if Betty's going to show up. We haven't seen her since the Hulk movie.
The Incredible Hulk,
But I'm kind of wondering, like, with her, she's the first daughter at that point. I feel like that elevates her into a realm now where it's like she's going to be in the public sphere way more.
Yeah.
So it's like, does Betty return to the MCU?
Dude, it got me thinking about like how that works, because like the president is generally older. Like Biden, he has
Yeah.
kids, right?
Yeah,
like,
they're all adults,
right?
yeah.
So they're all protected, right? Like,
I think so. Yeah, I think the Secret Service like deals with the whole family, even if they're not like in the house, quote unquote.
Yeah.
I believe so. Yeah, because
So that
otherwise
means
you can
that-
get leverage on the president.
yeah.
right?
So that means that she's going to have Secret Service protection.
Also, my other thing.
Should.
My other thing. Red Hulk's destroying that White House. They've completely CG'd him out of there. But
You think that's what it is? Not
whether
the-
he's like going and punching
What?
through it, or whether he's actually getting like knocked through it, I think because the
What?
first time I saw that, I'm like, what's missing? There's just something about it's like
Yeah.
that Spider-Man shot when like the 3 Spider-Men are jumping, or I'm sorry, the one Spider-Man's jumping and there's 3 villains lined up, and it's like
there was
they
two
CG'd
others,
the
yeah.
other 2 out. It's like it felt like
Yeah.
there's nothing showing there that
Yeah.
that would. So I'm like, that's Red Hulk. Like he's,
No, it was the Shield. We know that.
it was red. It's
Oh, it's the Shield.
that's my guess. It's Red Hulk. So next up, this is an interesting one. Rumor that George Clooney is in talks with the MCU
All right.
for an unspecified role.
He should do a heist movie. Ocean's 14 is an MCU heist movie.
Yeah, getting adamantium.
Yeah, getting adamantium. He's doing a heist where he's going to steal it from the Thunderbolts, who just did a heist to get
Yeah.
it, like a suicide mission, and his heist is to steal it from them.
Oh,
You think we should get one more?
some of the
All right, let's get one more.
what?
It's a line Rich Eisen uses on his show from Clooney in Ocean's 11. You think we should get one more? Brad Pitt doesn't say a goddamn word. All right, we'll get one more.
So the prevailing theories online, and this is all just speculation, which I live for, that have cropped up since this rumor came out, is that he could be playing a multiverse version of Nick Fury, which would make a lot of sense.
Okay.
Because Nick Fury traditionally was white, and it was the Ultimate Comics that made him black and mimicked him on Samuel L. Jackson, which made the casting of him in the movies very easy, because they're like, well, let's do the Ultimate version. It's basically Sam Jackson. We'll just cast him.
He's not doing anything.
But
Star Wars is done.
He has like the crop top and like all the eye patch and all that stuff, and he's
Yeah.
like an older white guy. George could fit that, I think. The other one, dark horse pick online that people are saying is, what if he was Doctor Doom?
Ooh. Clooney can act.
He can. He really can.
And he's also got, like, the thing with Doctor Doom versus other bad guys. Like, you get certain bad guys that don't have that suave gravitas nature.
Yeah.
Magneto has that.
Yeah.
Which is why Ian McKellen was fucking perfect for him.
Yeah, and Fassbender.
And Fassbender was amazing as well. As a younger version, before he
Yeah.
necessarily got that suave. He was learning to get that suave kind of
Yeah.
thing. But in the later movies, he had it.
Yeah.
But I think that Clooney has that. Doctor Doom is the most like that. Because, like, dude takes over an entire country.
I think the only reason I'm going to say no to him being Doctor Doom, though, is because I hope that Doctor Doom is going to be like a large villain that will be crossing into multiple things.
You don't think Clooney's down
and
for
I don't
that?
think you're signing Clooney to like a 6-7 picture deal.
Back to what we were talking about. He can get work. He doesn't
Yeah,
need it.
exactly.
He shows up, gets a paycheck. He's like, all right, I'm good to go do whatever I want now for the next 5 years, like Glenn Close did.
Yeah.
You ever hear that about her?
Oh, there's a lot of people like that.
That she popped-
Pattinson did that
Oh,
with his money from
Twilight.
I almost said Harry Potter. Twilight.
Yeah.
He actually
was in Harry Potter,
he
too.
used that money to bankroll himself for the next like
Yeah.
8 years to do a bunch of indie shit that couldn't pay him anything.
Yeah.
And I think Harry Potter kid did too. Use a bunch of his
Oh, yeah,
money
he
from
still
Harry
is.
Potter
Daniel,
to like
Daniel Radcliffe is still doing it.
to go and do these indie things. It's like, so yeah, there's a lot of people. That's like a pretty common strategy. I think there was somebody in the MCU even that did it, where they're like, oh,
Glenn Close.
was it her?
Glenn
I thought it
Close
was a guy, but-
admitted that she got the role in Guardians just so she could get a hefty paycheck, so then she can go do whatever she
Yeah.
wants and or retire.
probably
I can't-
more money. To
I
do
think it was
stuff.
just to do whatever she wants, basically.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
no, I heard that one about Glenn Close. So
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know if he's necessarily going to sign up for 6 or 7 movies,
Yeah.
which
I'm
is what
hoping.
you want
I'm
Doctor Doom
hoping
for.
because if they bring Doctor Doom in for like a 1 movie and he's gone like Red Skull or whatever, like
Oh.
that will be a fucking waste beyond the
Oh.
pale, man. Like beyond the pale. Like
Especially-
Doctor
watch.
Doom needs to be more than Thanos was, and Thanos popped up in other things, but he was very minor in everything until his moment. Doctor Doom needs to be bigger. Like it's time to let the MCU actually have the villain that permeates across multiple things.
Yeah.
And I think the Doctor
He shows
Doom's
up in Shang-Chi to help the bad guy there.
Yeah.
Against Shang-Chi and Wong.
Yeah.
He shows up in Avengers
Yeah.
Secret War fighting
Yeah.
against all the Avengers.
Exactly.
He shows up in Fantastic Four and he he even goes after
X-Men. Have him show up in X-Men and go after the maybe not in the first one, but it's like at some point have him cross paths with the like. He's just that kind of guy that he should be fucking everywhere.
He doesn't even need to fight the good guy. He just needs to help the bad guy fight the good guy.
Yeah,
because he doesn't like the good guys.
Imagine him just breaking out like the main villain in like an X-Men movie or something. Like
he breaks out Magneto.
Yeah,
he's like, all right, I did you a favor. You owe me.
Yeah,
I will remember this, Doom, and he flies off.
Yeah. Although I don't want to ever see a jailbreak for Magneto because we're 2 for 2 now, and I don't think you're ever going to top the plastic prison from X-Men 2 with the steel balls, and then the fucking Pentagon shit.
Iron.
The Pentagon, the whole Pentagon break was cool, but then that fucking scene with Quicksilver.
Oh yeah.
It's one of the coolest things ever, man.
A lot of iron.
It's one of the hardest parts about like the Flash is it's like Marvel's beat you to like the best element of a speedster, and now you can't do that. You're just going to look like a ripoff. So it's like that was the hard part with the Flash movie. Is like the coolest thing you could have done. Quicksilver's done it twice now in 2 X-Men movies,
and they were the best scenes in both those movies.
They were so good, man.
Those are ones that you talk about scenes that pop up on your algorithm on YouTube.
Yeah, and you watch it every time.
It's that one.
That one, yeah.
Those 2 scenes, the kitchen scene and then the mansion. The mansion one, it just like they knew what it was, and they just went ham with it. The pizza, the dog.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I love it.
It's so funny.
I mean, I wouldn't have saved the pizza, but that's just
you're a monster. I need a monster button. Like you're a monster.
You're a monster.
I should do the one from Shrek because he calls the Lord Farquaad. You're a monster.
So this is going to be the final Deadpool and Wolverine corner before the film's release.
Hell yeah.
So first, Hugh Jackman is talking about getting the role of Wolverine 25 years ago. So I got
holy shit! Is that really how long ago it was for him?
1999.
Oh my god!
The movie came out in 2000. Yeah. 25 years he's been the Wolverine.
He is Wolverine, isn't he? So
I do have multiple things that aren't necessarily related, but they're all kind of under the Deadpool umbrella.
Okay.
So the first one is him talking about this. First, he I don't know if I ever knew this before. He was turned down for the role, and it was given to Doug Ray Scott. But his role in Mission Impossible 2 caused him to drop out of the role. And I read into that more. He had committed to Mission Impossible 2, and he was begged Tom Cruise to let him like adjust his schedule to go and film X-Men, and Tom Cruise said no.
What's his name?
Doug Ray Scott.
Doug Ray?
Yeah, Doug A-R-A. Yeah, Doug Ray is one word, and then Scott. Yeah.
Oh, that guy?
Yeah, I think I looked him up, and I don't remember now. I looked him up with the intention of like being able to tell you some other things he's been in. But outside of Mission Impossible 2, I think I found one thing that I knew.
Jesus Christ,
but yeah,
Hitman.
Yeah, but he was going to be Wolverine. But then had to drop out because of Mission Impossible 2. And then Feige said, in my memory, one of the main reasons that the decision makers passed on Hugh Jackman to start with is because he was too tall. Jackman is 6'3".
That's the one thing that they were worried about staying true to is that Wolverine was short. Yeah, okay.
I still saw some clowns online saying with the next Dreamcasting that had to be someone short, and I'm like, y'all just. Are you going to ignore the 25 years we just had with probably one of the greatest people to ever perform a comic book role? Like, who the fuck cares how tall he is? But then Feige says Wolverine in the comics is called Little Fireplug sometimes. He's a short guy. But ultimately, after the Doug Ray stuff fell through, they were desperate. Feige offered to take Hugh to dinner with the screenwriter because he felt bad that he was basically had auditioned for a role that was pretty much already cast. So basically, and Feige talked about this on the Marvel podcast too, or no, Hugh Jackman did because on one of the future episodes, Hugh's on that third episode, I think, and he talked about he's like they could have just got me a driver, but Kevin offered to not only drive me to the airport but to take me to dinner as well before.
And
nice. He's like, and he took me to a steak dinner, and he's like, hey, I'm a struggling actor. I'll take a free steak anytime.
Yeah, this is not like this. This is not Hugh Jackman that we know now.
No.
This is Hugh Jackman before Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, exactly.
This was Hugh Jackman.
Yeah. So then he said he took him to dinner and just kind of gave him a pep talk and stuff. Jackman says, I said, Kevin, we all know I'm not getting the part. You don't have to take me to dinner. But no, he sat there and had a steak dinner with me and then drove me to the airport. I'll never forget that. It was the nicest thing. And I thought, I'll never see him again. That was his thought as they parted. So
I'll tell you right now, the more I hear about Kevin Feige, the more I realize he's a pretty good, decent human being.
Yeah, he's a good egg for sure. And then my next
Kevin, for the love of God, don't be one of those ones that I regret those words 10 years from now. For fuck's sake, you fucking Hollywood types.
next up, Ryan Reynolds hypes Deadpool and Wolverine. I've got a single line from Mr. Ryan Reynolds
Bring
here. At the end of the day, I'm so happy with it. It's the best movie I've ever done.
Oh my God. I know how he feels about the other Deadpool movies.
I was about to say, like, there is part of me that's like, is he being true? Because some people when they're doing the press, like every movie they're doing press for is the best movie they've ever done. But I don't know if I've ever heard him say it before. So I
don't think I have.
I'm just kind of wondering. So next up, Jackman praises Deadpool and Wolverine, specifically filming it. He says, I thought I was finished with this role 7 years ago, but as soon as we came up with the idea, I knew that it was the matchup that people wanted and I wanted, that Ryan wanted and the fans wanted. Jackman said that the film contains, quote, sides of Wolverine that I've never played before, and that challenged me as an actor and excited me. And then he goes on and says, I feel in many ways fans of Wolverine, because of Deadpool, because of Reynolds and Levy, are going to see a fuller and more different side to him than you've ever seen before. And that was thrilling for me, and I hope it is for you. And then he says, the last bit here before we move on to another Ryan Reynolds thing, he says, quote, the experience of making the movie was also one of the greatest of my career, and I've been playing Wolverine for 25 years. This experience exceeds anything I've ever done before as this character, and in many other movies, in anything. I loved it, and I think it shows on the screen. So, some good hype.
Yes.
Getting some good hype.
My
here.
wife says in the chat, she's like, I believe Ryan being genuine in that statement.
Yeah, me too.
I could see it.
Yeah, unless like I think like if I actually like I think he would be the funny type to like say that with every movie, but always say it in like a way where it's clear that he says it with every movie. But I've just never I haven't seen him do that, so I just don't think that's what's happening here.
Yeah.
And then Ryan Reynolds is talking about what the pitching process was to Kevin Feige for Deadpool 3.
Did he buy a mistake dinner?
He says, I met Kevin Feige 6 years ago to discuss this. And I don't know if time has slipped on me, but I don't feel that's a real thing. It couldn't have been 6 years ago.
Why?
Because wasn't the Fox deal announced in like 2019? So I just feel like he's like stretching time a little bit. And I get it. We all do it, right? Earlier.
December 14th, 2017.
Is when the announcement was made?
7 years ago.
Okay.
7 years ago this December. So 6 years ago.
But also, which Deadpool?
6 years ago.
Which Deadpool would you have been involved as well? There's other Deadpool movies that happened too, right? Because the first one would have been out, but the second one wasn't out yet, was it?
Deadpool.
I don't know. Just some of the timeline doesn't sound right there.
No, it seems like it lines up. Deadpool 2 came out in 2018.
Yeah, so 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I don't know, or no, 6 years ago. So maybe. He says, the first thing I said to him is I just want to make Wolverine and Deadpool together. I just want these two on screen. And then he goes on and says, at the time, Kevin said, forget it. It's never going to happen. And I said, okay, that's fine. And as we marched next really forward, Sean and I were coming up with different pitches and different ideas. And we pitched Marvel everything you can imagine. Little movies, big movies, anything. And it just wasn't working out. And then one day we were on our last pitch. We were about to say to Kevin Feige, I think we're just going to walk away. We'll come back later, maybe in a couple years when we have a better sense of things. And then just so happened that Hugh called me. Jackman told Reynolds that if it wasn't too late, he'd be willing to come back to be part of the third Deadpool film. And this is what finally sold Kevin on the film, and Feige had one condition. And then this is another quote going back into Ryan, and he says, Sean and I were pivoted in the middle of our pitch to Kevin. And I said, look, this thing just happened. It seems kind of miraculous, but Hugh called. What do you say? And for some reason, Kevin immediately said yes. So Hugh Jackman was the difference of...
Hugh Jackman made this movie happen.
Yes.
It says here that the merger was complete on March 20th, 2019. So it took a little bit of time.
Yeah, it took a couple of years for sure.
Yeah.
And then Levy added, and then here's the one condition, because that Ryan set us up that Feige had one condition.
All right.
Levy added, he said yes, but he wears the yellow. Can he finally wear the yellow? And then we began. So that was Feige's one caveat. You can do it under one condition. He wears the yellow. Again, Feige, what a fucking...
All hail Kevin Feige.
What a fucking god, man. He's the man. So yeah, that is the final Deadpool and Wolverine corner for the news section. Oh, I mean, before the movie releases, who knows what kind of coverage we might have afterwards, but for the lead up that we've been covering this for a year now on this show. All right, so moving on. Let's see, that's wrong. I think I clicked. There we go. Eyes of Wakanda, the new animated Black Panther thing that we've got coming out. As they actually talked about this on the Marvel podcast as well. It is actually going to be tied directly to the MCU. It'll be the first animated Marvel thing that will have a direct tie to the MCU. Everything else has kind of had like either a nebulous tie, or they've said straight up, no, that's not tied. Like X-Men was like, no, this is not
part of the MCU.
But this, they're saying 100% is. So Eyes of Wakanda, and this is a quote from, I think this is from the guy that's in charge of television and streaming for Marvel. He says, Eyes of Wakanda, more than any other show we're doing in animation, ties directly into the MCU. This is a story about Wakandan history. It's both about the history of Wakanda, but also expands into the greater MCU at different time periods. So if you're a fan of the movies, I think this is a show you're really going to love, or it's going to be a real treat. So that's pretty awesome.
I've never even heard of this.
Oh, really? Yeah, it's animated. They're doing for Disney Plus. So.
Is there like a trailer for this? Or
no,
anything?
not yet. They're still
okay.
They're still in. It's like X-Men '97. How long did it take us to get a trailer for that? Like because it's always animation too. I think what they always do is they like record all the lines, they do all the animation. And then as you got closer, then they release a trailer. But it's like they're working on it years in advance.
Yeah.
Like, so, yeah, Wakanda, Eyes of Wakanda sounds like it's going to be a historic show, but it sounds like it's actually going to permeate outside of Wakanda. And we might actually see some historic things MCU-wise, which will be very interesting. And then next up, Giancarlo Esposito. We have a rumor to his role. Obviously, he showed up in that Captain America trailer.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty shocking to people because it was only like 2 weeks ago that he showed up on set. So the fact that they were able to get footage of him and then actually get it into the trailer that quickly is pretty wild.
Because Giancarlo is a fucking pro.
He is. But no, even just for everyone else to like get that shit developed, get some of the special effects put in, and then get that into the trailer, like
because they're all fucking pros.
They're pros. So the rumor is that Esposito is playing George Washington Bridge. Is the guy's name, and he goes by GW Bridge, and because that's
a real place, that's a real thing. George Washington Bridge is a bridge in New York.
So here's the thing: he goes by
GW
Bridge because he was made fun of as a kid that he was named George Washington Bridge. So he goes by GW Bridge, and you know what? In my mind, I don't know if this is true, but in my mind, I picture Marvel Studios in whatever tower, or Marvel Comics, Marvel whatever, some animator sitting there, they create this character, and he's just staring out the window, just can't think of a fucking name. And then he sees the bridge.
He's like, fuck it.
He sees the bridge and just wants it down.
Fuck it.
That's my headcanon. So GW Bridges is a former member of S.H.I.E.L.D. And the Six Pack, a mercenary team that includes characters like Cable and Domino. He has a military background and is known for his tactical expertise and leadership skills. All that follows with what we saw in the trailer. That all fits with what he is. Bridges is depicted as a tough, no-nonsense character who is dedicated to his duty. He possesses a strong sense of justice and it often operates within the boundaries of the law, though his past as a mercenary occasionally brings him into morally gray areas.
I wonder if he's going to be hunting Falcon as like a do-gooder.
I don't know.
Because like if he's within the law and Falcon goes outside of the law to protect the president, your inner circle's compromised, whether you want to see it or not, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh well, then he kidnaps the president to take him away. Well, I got to bring him back. He's a mercenary who's going after to save the president from kidnapping.
Yeah.
Is he actually a bad guy?
No, I think like
that's the way they're describing it.
Yeah,
maybe.
And I think like on the scale of like white to black, and like there's grays, and there's like Punisher. He's gray, but he's on the dark side of gray.
He's on the other side.
I think this is the alternate. He's on the light side, but hedging into the gray area.
Yeah, he has to do black things every now and then.
Yes,
in the sake of freedom and justice in the American way.
This all fits with what we heard from Giancarlo, where he's like, I would love to play a good guy. Yeah, I play a lot of bad guys. And
I wonder if that's really what it's going to be. Is just a good guy, but
a badass,
a badass good guy who has to do the thing that makes him seem like a bad guy. It's like
the Batman thing.
If you guys would just work together, Gordon, stop trying to arrest Batman.
The other thing is, I would say the other big differentiator with him being tied into S.H.I.E.L.D. and some of these other things. Think Nick Fury, except this guy will get his hands dirty. He'll get out into the field more so than Nick generally does. Mm-hmm. Nick can, but it's usually his last resort. Like that's not Nick's way.
Like, God damn it! Now I got to go fix this Skrull situation.
This is the guy that's like, no, I'm in the field.
No. You come with me. Yeah. I lead.
Yeah. So that's the rumor. We'll see as things come up. Let's see. I just lost my place.
Yeah, we'll see as it comes up when we get closer. Because you were talking about this yesterday when the trailer dropped and everything. Is that kind of snuck up on us? This movie comes out in February.
Yes,
not next summer.
No, that did
not even May, like February.
Yeah, that does that did throw me off. So yeah, it's coming very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Next up, Agatha is coming September 18th.
Hell's yes.
Agatha All Along. The trailer's now out.
Is that the real name?
I finally watched it, and the trailer does look incredible.
Is that the real name?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the joke. Is
fuckers
change it 12 times or whatever, but
Sons of
and
bitches.
then the ultimate title is Agatha All Along. Audrey Plaza.
Dude, it's April.
And whatever her name is, that plays Agatha is a fucking babe too. I love her. I've always loved her. So it's like two wonderful ladies involved in this movie. Can't wait for it. And who doesn't love witches? It's Hahn something. Catherine Hahn? No, that doesn't sound right. I feel like Hahn's her last name.
I'm looking at what? Yeah, Catherine Hahn.
Catherine Hahn? Okay. Didn't sound right. So the trailer's out. Looks great. Brad Winderbaum, head of Marvel streaming television and animation, said Agatha is really fun, but it's really scary and it gets quite dramatic. She's an amazing anti-hero, and the show is and then he stops. He said it lures you in with the fun of Halloween, and before you know it, you're crying.
There is something in that trailer we do have to talk about.
Yeah. Okay. One more thing I got here, and then asked exactly how scary the show gets. He said it's Marvel's brand of scary. It's a Halloween show, but there are deadly stakes in the series. It's a fun ride, but it's a dangerous one.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
okay,
that sounds fun. I'm really excited for this one, man.
It comes out in spooky season too.
Yeah, right before my birthday.
Let's do it.
Tad Eve is what that
Tad
is.
Eve,
September
it
and
is.
2 episodes. Getting 2 episodes
Right off the bat.
But you said you had something.
They did say that Wanda's dead in the trailer.
Yeah.
Which I know people have talked about.
Well, that goes along because remember there was that thing that Marvel published, the timeline or whatever for the MCU, and there was like a distinct logo for a main character dying, and they had one there for Wanda. So she is dead.
Is she going to stay dead?
No.
You don't think so?
There's been some rumors. I don't think we've covered it yet, but there's some rumors that a Black Widow, Scarlet Witch movie is potentially in early stages of development.
Oof.
So
I have to talk about it because that is my wife's favorite Marvel character.
She's one of my favorites.
Wanda
too.
is amazing.
I mean, I'm a Magneto guy, but daughter of Magneto, I've loved her for a long time. So yes, but yeah. So to alleviate any fears of Lydia, she's dead, but there's 2 people.
Is there an asterisk next to her death?
There's 3 people that stay dead in comics, right?
The Waynes,
Uncle Ben, and the 2 Waynes.
That's it.
Martha and
Thomas.
Those are the only 3 people.
Come on, man. Come on.
Everyone else will come back at some point. It just depends on how long it takes, but they will be back.
You think I'm ever going to forget Ma Kent's name?
Well, Martha, everyone remembers that.
Why did you say the
name? Next up, M. Night Shyamalan gets ballsy with a comp for his new movie Trap. You've seen the trailer for this?
Yes.
Have you? Dude, did you realize that was fucking what's his name? The killer, the main character?
Yeah, what's his name? Yeah.
Halloween H2O, Pearl Harbor.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt?
No.
Oh, Josh Hartnett.
Josh Hartnett.
Yeah.
I saw that. I didn't.
He looks the exact same that he does in Oppenheimer.
I don't think I recognize him in Oppenheimer either.
Yeah, he's the next door neighbor professor.
No, I know.
I was like, I know that guy.
But
and I paused. And I'm like, oh, that's fucking.
I saw
Hartnett.
I saw it in theaters. I think it was after the first time. Yeah. I think I saw something that said Hartnett. And I was like, wait a minute, Hartnett was supposed to be in Oppenheimer. He wasn't in it. And I went and looked it up, and I saw the name. I'm like,
yeah, he's the teacher in the next classroom.
I think he looks a little bit portlier in this movie.
Yeah,
too.
he's put on a little bit of
weight. No, even from Oppenheimer, he just looks a little bit more filled out. I didn't recognize him, dude. I saw the trailer in theaters, and I didn't recognize him at all. And then I was walking out of the theater, and I saw the poster for it, and it said Josh Hartnett. I'm like, what? So
you're like, wait, what?
He'll always be from H2O for me. But what's Lydia saying? Nope, no way. Oh, it maybe about Nobody Stays Dead. Sorry, I missed when that came in.
I did too. Probably about Wanda being dead.
Yeah, there's no way. No way. So M. Night Shyamalan. So the film sees a dad named Cooper, played by Josh Hartnett, taking his daughter Riley, Ariel Donahue, to go to a big pop concert by Lady Raven, played by Celica. While there, Cooper learns the concept is a, or I guess this concept, but it should say concert, is a trap for a serial killer known as the Butcher, who is actually Cooper. Shyamalan says and this is the ballsy part. What if Silence of the Lambs happened at a Taylor Swift concert? That's
Jesus Christ.
That's his pitch on it. And like, honestly, that's ballsy. But I will say, before I saw Shyamalan's name, I was really into that trailer. And I'm not a Shyamalan hater, but he's never been the biggest for me. But I will go see this. This looks really fun.
We were talking about this yesterday when we went and got lunch, and I told you, you let me know how it is, because I was the same way. I'm like, dude, that's such an original idea. That's so cool. M. Night Shyamalan. Nope. I learned my lesson after The Village. Thank you. I've not watched an M. Night Shyamalan movie since
I don't know
then.
what the last movie I saw of his was.
Did you watch the one with the whole death thing on the beach?
No, I wanted to, but it
but
came
never
and
did?
went so quick in theaters, I never got around to seeing it.
God,
Old, I think.
Yeah,
is
she confirmed
Old.
Wanda staying dead. So.
Yeah. So the movie was also inspired in part by the real Operation Flagship, which was a 1985 plot which several fugitives were offered free NFL tickets and the chance to win an all-expense-paid Super Bowl trip, except 100-odd hopefuls attended and discovered that it was a sting operation. Shyamalan says it was hilarious. The cops are literally cheerleaders and mascots. The guys were dancing as they came in, and they were all caught. It was so twisted and funny.
Yeah.
So
I've seen that footage.
yeah, exactly. So that's kind of part of his premise as well. As I also saw a quote, I didn't take it down, but he basically said that like they made a true concert out of it too, and part of the film is also like filming the concert. Like, not that that's the main thing, but he's like, I didn't want it to just be like this weird fake concert in the background. He's like, no, it like we treated it like a real concert. So it's like, that's kind of cool.
That's legit.
Yeah, that's cool. Next up, we've got God damn it, I keep pushing the button before I push the other button. Mike Flanagan wrote a segment for the new VHS movie. I don't know if you've ever watched any of these. They're wonderful horror things where it's kind of a creep show-esque, where they've got 3 short things for a 90-minute movie or whatever. There was one time when Hayden still lived with his parents, he and a group of us were there until like 4 in the morning, and we watched one of the VHSs in the midst of like a whole grundle of horror movies. They're fun movies though, but one of the segments in the upcoming VHS is written by Mike Flanagan, and he's writing it for his wife Kate Siegel to direct.
Oh.
So VHS Beyond is what it's called, and it hits Shudder on October 4th, 2024. Very excited for that now.
Very nice.
I haven't seen any since the first one, but I maybe need to go through and watch all those, because it's cool. I love that creep show-ish vibe where it's like you're not going to tell a 2-hour movie or an hour 90-minute or an hour and 30-minute movie. You're going to tell like a 25-minute.
Yeah.
The 3 of them. Like, that's cool.
Yeah.
I think the hard part for me, the first time I watched the first VHS, is I didn't know that was the concept. So when it jumped to this next thing, I was like, what the fuck is going on?
What are we
How does
doing?
this tie in with what we just like? And then I was finally midway into the second one where I was like, oh, I get it. It's like Creep Show or whatever. Like, okay. And then I was finally able to like go with it. But it was just like a random like pulled it up on streaming and hit go or whatever. And it was just like, I was like, what the fuck? Like, are we just like too drunk? Like, I don't get what's going on here.
You're like, wait, what'd you put in my beer?
Yeah, exactly. But next up, we got I just blanked on his name. Timms is his last name.
Bruce Timms.
Bruce Timms.
How dare you?
Talks Batman Cape Crusader.
The Cape Crusader.
Should be but there is no the. Quote, Batman is so early on in his career that in the first episode he's still an urban myth. It's not year 1, more like week 2.
Oh, damn.
So that's what he's saying there.
That's like way early.
Yeah, he says, I wanted to make him kind of weird and spooky. If you're stuck in a room with Batman, whether you're Commissioner Gordon or Barbara Gordon or Renee Montoya, you don't feel comfortable. You're kind of like, what is that guy? What is this all about?
Yeah.
So he's going to be like, which makes sense. Early on, he'd be very off-putting, I think.
That was the whole thing with him, is that's why he became the Batman, is that he had to make people uncomfortable.
Yeah. And then this next quote, he weaponizes Alfred. He's not Batman's surrogate father anymore. He's a guy that's going to enable him to fight crime.
Yeah.
So that sounds cool.
There's different iterations of that. There's a famous comic block with him where he's got a shotgun and he's reloading a double-barrel shotgun.
I don't have that qualm or whatever.
My master may have a qualm about not killing. I, however, do not. And he's reloading a fucking double-barrel shotgun. Yeah. I'm just like, fuck yeah, Alfred, get some.
Alfred's always been a badass, man. There's
different versions where he's like a fucking mercenary.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I mean, the Dark Knight trilogy.
Yeah. He's like a mercenary medic and stuff like that. He's like, he knows how to kill people, and he has killed people, so.
Yeah.
Didn't they do a Alfred a Pennyworth series?
They were working on it. Did it ever come out?
With it tied in with Gotham, didn't it?
I don't know if it tied in. I think it was the same premise where it's like we're going to do something Batman, but not Batman. I don't know if it ever actually ended up came to fruition.
Pennyworth, 2019, 3 seasons.
Oh, Jesus. Guess it did. Then the last bit of the last quote here. That's how focused Bruce is. It's a weird take on him, but it's something that I don't think we've seen before. So yeah, that's just some more hype for you for Cape Crusader coming to Amazon.
The tagline for this: former British SAS soldier Alfred Pennyworth forms a security company and goes to work with Bruce Wayne's billionaire father Thomas in 1960s London.
Oh, yeah, sounds fun. Next up, a little bit of bad news, but not unexpected. Matt Reeves' Arkham series has been scrapped.
Yeah.
Not a big surprise, because honestly, this is the one where they were like, oh, it's going to be part of the Batman universe, but it's also going to be part of the DCU universe.
It's like, wait, what?
And then, like, my eyes are still crossed because I can't figure out what the fuck they were talking about. Because James Gunn, I think, said that. I'm like, that doesn't make any goddamn sense, dude.
Because
like,
you got Ben Affleck over here playing Batman, and you got Robert Pattinson over here playing Batman.
Or George Clooney. Like, it's just like...
Wait.
And then another Batman... The DCU is going to be a different Batman, right? So a new guy... Call it Reacher. I don't remember that actor's name.
Alan Richardson.
Let's say it's going to be him, but it's like, so you'd have him and then Pattinson. It's like, how is this going to be Arkham that's going to apply to both? It made no sense ever, but honestly.
You just have a cell with 2 Jokers in it. 2 Two-Faces. So 4? 4 face?
2 Catwomen.
Hey, man.
2 Penguins.
Disgusting.
Oh, so yeah, not a big surprise for me. Honestly, I wasn't even that stoked on this show anyway.
Yeah.
Like the Penguin, I'm fucking like.
I can't wait for that.
Just hook it to my veins!
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah, so that's that one. Let's go ahead and move on here. So Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, is allegedly looking at Jason Momoa for a role.
Good.
No word on the role, but there are people speculating that it will be Lobo.
Okay.
Remember, he was saying right toward the tail end of the DCEU that he actually would prefer to play Lobo than Aquaman. So, and he fits the Lobo look too.
I mean,
he looks like
Lobo. Does anyone want to play Aquaman?
No. God, no. It's the dumbest superhero. Wow. Not the dumbest. He's pretty close. Polka Dot Man maybe take the cake, but it's
not a superhero. He's a villain.
Yeah. What's the difference?
Morals.
Next up, we got Superman tidbits. So we are now 363 days away from Superman's.
Oh boy, we're gonna do countdowns.
Well, a few days ago was it's the 11th is the release date. So 365 days away. James Gunn dropped a nice shiny logo.
I thought this was you doing this. Okay,
no,
I understand.
No, yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay. So we're gonna do a Superman countdown. All right,
there's a couple things. So he released that for the 1 year mark for the movie coming out, and I just mentioned it's 363 days away now because we're a couple days removed.
Yeah.
So that logo got released. Let's see. Also, the last time I did kind of talk shit on the My Adventures with Superman. Let me get back to the right slide so I can edit the picture and move it. Remember, I was talking shit on the My Adventures of Superman, how the logo is just, I wasn't a fan.
Yeah.
Because we were talking about, you hate the fat bat. I'm like, yeah, there's certain Superman logos I'm not a fan of. I decided to finally put it on screen so you could all see it. So there's the My Adventures of Superman logo. Like, you can kind of see there's an S there, but I feel like every time I'm watching it, I spend more time looking at the logo trying to find the S.
My eye is drawn to the yellow, and I'm like, 1L?
Yeah, it just...
Why is 1L turned on its side?
I don't like it. I'm. It's a nitpick. I love the show, but it's probably one of my least favorite logos.
There's an S there?
Yeah, I mean, just you can kind of see it, but
my eyes are hurting trying to find it. My wife said Condiment King in the chat. Condiment King is a villain. Stop naming villains.
I rest my case on that logo. But also, the last bit I wanted to cover on this Superman corner, James Gunn has cast the son of Christopher Reeve in Superman. He's going to be playing a cameo role. Will Reeve is going to be playing a TV reporter. It's a cameo role, which is very fitting because in real life, Will is a correspondent for ABC News.
That's so cool.
That is really cool. That made me happy.
Hell yeah.
And then that. Oh, you know what? I forgot to put a slide.
Monster.
But I forgot to do a slide, but I got a news thing late. I actually discovered it this morning. I woke up and saw this.
Okay.
Edgar Wright, or I'm sorry, I typed this wrong. Simon Pegg.
I'm going to cover this.
What?
Talking with Edgar Wright about making a 4th movie?
I mean,
Yep,
there's a lot of people that are jumping on it saying
I read the article. I I have it covered.
I just have the quote. I didn't.
Okay, go
I
ahead.
didn't see
Go
the
ahead, then.
articles.
Go ahead.
So he was asked if he and Edgar Wright were working on anything at the moment. He says there's something always in the works with Edgar and I. Since Shaun of the Dead, our lives have changed dramatically. We're both busy into the distant future. The biggest challenge we have right now is finding a moment to get together and spend 6-7 weeks to get our final draft out and come up with an idea. But we're constantly looking for that. Edgar came over to my house last year and we stayed for a week. And we just sort of talked about films and what we want to do next. We just need the time to do it. So really, it's a question of when, not if. The only thing I'm saying there, though, is just because it's Simon and Edgar does not mean it's a because there's a bunch of headlines saying, Simon Pegg says fourth Cornetta movie is in the works and is if not when, or when not if. And to me, I'm like, I think you guys are all jumping the gun a tiny bit on saying it's a Cornetta fourth movie. That's all I wanted to point that out, because even the headline I saw was like, Simon Pegg says fourth Cornetta movie is inevitable or whatever, and then I read the quote over and over and I'm like, he never says anything about it being the fourth Cornetta movie. So that's all I got for news. I don't have a slide for that, so we are now into the main topic. I don't have a sound.
How can this be for the greater good? Shut it!
I mean,
Trust you had a pleasant trip. Fascist.
I beg your pardon.
System of government characterized by extreme dictatorship. Seven across.
I love that woman.
Actually, I could probably make my own way up. Hag.
I beg your pardon.
Evil old woman considered frightful or ugly. It's 12 down.
Oh, bless.
I love her so much, dude. She's probably one of my favorite side characters in this movie. She's so good.
Yeah, it's Hot Fuzz what we're talking about. I was trying to find the article that I read, and I'm not going to worry about it.
I ended up finding the real article that the interview came from, and it was from one of those Variety Deadline type whatever.
Yeah.
And it was just a full-on interview with him, and it just happened to be that question toward the end. But all the articles that are being written, though, I feel like there's a lot of assumptions happening. Doesn't mean there's not another movie coming, but I just don't know that. I don't want to assume it's going to be a Cornetta fourth movie. What if it's just some
them
other
collaborate? Because didn't they do Paul?
No,
that was someone else. That wasn't Edgar Wright.
The two actors went and did Paul while he did the video game movie. What was that one called again? Scott Pilgrim vs. the World.
Oh, that one.
So they kind of split and did their own things. So I will say, theoretically, I can see where people are making that jump, because the only thing they've ever worked on together is Cornetta trilogy. Mm-hmm. But the quote, I wish in the quote he would have said, we're looking to do a fourth Cornetta movie. That would have made me a lot happier of like, yes, thank God. But go on.
So Hot Fuzz is a 2007 movie directed by Edgar Wright, starring Nick Frost and Simon Pegg. And it is is spoof movie the right word for it, Tad? I actually generally start off the topic with wanting to categorize this movie.
I think so, because I think the problem is there's so many just shitty low-grade spoof movies that it's almost made spoof movie makes it feel like it's got to be like not another teen movie or whatever.
Right.
But I think like, is Monty Python a spoof movie?
Yes.
Than this is. Like, to me, it's the same thing. But I think we've had like a decade and a half of like really, or probably 2 decades worth of shitty fucking spoof movies where it's like it's almost a derogatory thing to say spoof movie now.
So we had Scary Movie. We had Scary Movie 2, which were hilarious. And this is obviously
epic movie.
This is obviously decades after we have the classic spoof movies.
Airplane,
The Naked Gun. What do they have? 5 of those movies? 4 of those movies? I don't know how many of those movies there is of those. There was 1 or 2 in the 90s that were okay. Spaceballs was really good.
Yeah.
And then we hit Scary Movie.
Yeah.
Which is really good. The second one was really good. Take my strong hand.
Then they let the Wayans brothers go,
and then it just kind of went off the rail. What did they end up with? Like 6 or 7 scary movies, and by the end of it, they weren't even doing scary movies. Like, there's a whole part with 8 Mile in one of them. And I'm like, that's not a horror film.
Yeah, it was just pop culture.
Stay in your lane. Like, stay in your lane. And then there's epic movie. There's disaster movie. Not another teen movie. Yeah. Which I will say, superhero movie. I watched Not Another Teen Movie. That one's actually really fucking funny. But you don't like romantic comedy, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
So.
Dewey Cox.
Oh, yeah, Dewey Cox. And, spoof of the music.
Like the music genre. Yeah, biopic. Yeah.
Biopic and everything like that. So there's so many of them there. That, Hot Fuzz is a spoof movie. It is absolutely one of the greatest, in my opinion. How do you feel about it?
I always tell people, in my mind, comedy is the most subjective thing, but in terms of if you're talking comedy for me, there's a trifecta. There's Monty Python and the Holy Grail. There's Airplane, and there's Hot Fuzz.
Those are the three.
Those, like, there's a lot of other great comedy that I love, but those three,
Top tier.
top of the shelf for me.
Gold, silver, and bronze medal right there.
No, just
Those-
3 golds.
Just 3 golds? Oh,
Like-
we tied.
Yeah, those 3
They all
are just
crossed the finish line at the same time.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I love them all so much.
Yeah.
I really do. And obviously this is the most modern of them. But yeah, I adore this movie so much, man. I
Yeah.
saw it in theaters opening day. I don't even remember why. It wasn't like I love Shaun
Yeah.
of the Dead, but I don't think I even like fully connected that it was like Shaun of the Dead.
The same people who did they
I knew the
did
actors.
advertise it that way, from the people who brought you Shaun of the
Yeah.
Dead. Hot Fuzz.
But I remember not being in the theater, not being like, oh, like Shaun of the Dead. This,
Yeah.
and that. Like, I just remember going like, oh, like let's go see if this is any good.
And you're the one that actually got me to watch this movie. Coincidentally enough, that happens a lot in this friendship. Is that Tad's like, dude, you got to watch this movie, and I'm like, no, like it's this. They made a movie that should have been Shaun of the Dead 2, and they did something stupid. And he's like, no.
And
Trust me, you like action movies.
As I was saying,
you know how
yeah,
I like action.
I knew
movies.
you grew up on action movies as
Yeah.
much as I did, but it's funny because I feel like your action movies you grew up on was almost more aligned with what Hot Fuzz is spoofing than what I grew up on.
Absolutely.
Because I grew up on like the Terminators, Aliens, like a lot of sci-fi action.
And I
you
grew up on the
like
Die Hard, the Lethal Weapons,
Yeah,
and stuff like
exactly.
that.
So
it was made more for me than it was for you, but
Yeah.
you love it.
oh, dude, it's so
like
good.
like 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10. Like
so
it's so
good.
good. So
one of our most quoted movies too over the years.
absolutely.
Since-
There's still times where Tad walks past me and calls me a fascist. So.
Yeah, indeed. And since 2007, I mean,
been a
outside
thing.
of Star Wars, it's
Yeah.
probably nothing more quotable than this, or longer quoted than this.
No, absolutely not. So basically, what we're gonna do is we're gonna try a different format here for talking about a movie or trilogies and stuff like that. I want to see how this takes and how you feel about it. Basically, what I did is I rewatched the movie. And I just kind of broke it up into sections and wrote down a couple notes. At the end, I got a couple things of trivia and a few questions for you. So we're just going to go through it. Right off the bat, we got the intro into the movie, the long shot where he's walking in and everything like that, and it's Nicholas Angel, graduating from his class.
Yeah.
Like the
competitive biking.
No, advanced, including classes in advanced driving, riot techniques, advanced cycling, and he pulls up and does a skid. Like, what the fuck?
Oh, it's
On a bike. He's wearing a helmet. He's wearing a polo.
it's so good. Dude.
Like, oh, great. And then we find out instantly that he's getting transferred to the country. And
Yeah.
I
It's 'cause you're making us all look bad.
yeah, 400% higher arrest record than the rest of the police
Yeah.
force combined is what
Yeah.
they say.
And isn't that Bill?
Bill Nighy,
yeah,
Nighy,
that plays that.
and then Martin Freeman also is in that scene.
Yeah, he's I remember
He's
that.
the first one.
I
Martin
remember-
Freeman's the first one. The second guy I looked up, he wasn't really.
I remember when
he
they
does a lot of British stuff.
I remember when they cast him for Bilbo.
Yeah.
and I remember like that's a dude from Shaun of
That's
the
the
Dead.
dude.
or
That's the dude
Hot
from Hot
Fuzz.
Fuzz.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's-
So he's in the Hobbit movies, and then also like we find out that he's getting transferred to the country. And he goes to the crime scene, and his girlfriend, who never takes her mask off or anything, is Kate Blanchett.
Yeah.
Like the Kate Blanchett.
Yeah.
Do you know why she's in the movie? I read this in the trivia, so I'm just gonna bring
I've
it up.
heard it before, but I don't remember.
She
No.
loves Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah.
She thinks it's so fucking
I mean,
funny.
Who doesn't?
I mean,
And George Romero's in
right.
in that
Exactly.
too, so
And then another cameo right here at the beginning talks about how he was injured 3 times and he was stabbed by Saint Nick, Santa Claus.
yeah.
That's Peter Jackson.
Yeah. Yeah.
like, like so. All right.
I love that. Yeah.
So yeah, he gets transferred to the country, and so moving into our next section, it's Arrival in Sanford, which is the safest village on the planet, in the country, is what they're saying.
Yeah.
So you take the most active, aggressive, amazing police detective,
Yeah.
and you transfer, and obviously jump in if you have anything like,
Like imagine putting the Brooklyn Nine-Nine lead guy,
Peralta.
send him to some town of 4,000 people.
Well, they actually have an episode of that in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. It's where Santiago's all pissed off that Rosa Diaz was offered a police chief position in a town. And when they go there, they find out that the police department is like shared with a bakery. Like they don't even have their own building.
Yeah.
Like they don't have riot gear or anything like. Yeah, exactly like that. And she's like, now you see why I didn't take it. It has no action.
Yeah.
Same thing here with Nicholas Angel. I didn't put this in the note, but now that I'm thinking back on it, I should have. The whole scene with his girlfriend is just comedy gold. Janine, I've been called away to the country. Well, I'm not Janine. Janine, I've been called away to the country. And then, no, it's not Dave. It's Bob. Hey there.
So good, man. And I will say, my theory, at some point I want to break this movie down, like, line by line, because I legitimately think every line in this movie pays off.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I have notes about that.
And not even just like there's a lot of setup payoff. I legit wonder if every fucking line in this movie pays off later on.
Yeah.
Like, because just even the most obscure shit
Yeah.
ends up paying off later in the movie. It's wild.
Yeah.
Oh, we want us to question everyone like Aaron A. Aronson.
And that's the kid at the end.
Little kid at the end.
Yeah.
It's just every fucking thing in that movie. I think it's geniusly written. I believe. I just feel like I feel like we actually looked at it.
Yep.
I believe you'd see that like almost every line pays off.
I think that's a study, Ted, that's worthy of Oxford. If you would be so bold as to say that.
Indeed.
So the next
and Bond.
Oh God, no, we're hold on, we're not there yet. We're saving that because that is going to be a lengthy discussion. Not lengthy. It's going to be fast because we both agree. So the next section, Arrival in Sanford, we got the whole montage of him moving.
Yeah.
And then one of the greatest exchanges. We've already played it for you, but we'll play one half of it again.
But I trust you had a
Tad's
pleasant
favorite
trip.
part.
Fascist.
I beg your pardon.
System of government characterized by extreme dictatorship. Seven across.
Like Black Sheep, not necessarily a Dark Horse for me. There is a thought that I've always had that I would love to get a tattoo of her with the machine gun.
Oh yeah,
I think that would be a fucking killer tattoo, dude. I love this.
It would be good.
And I love it. You've always been here. Excuse me? Oh, I thought you were my husband.
Sorry, I thought you were my husband. So Nicholas gets settled into his suite at the hotel because his cottage isn't ready.
Yeah.
And he gets restless, so he goes to the pub. And there's a bunch of kids in there drinking. And he's like, wait a minute, this can't stand. It's against the law. And it's too loud. So he goes up to one, and I love this fucking line. What's your birthday? 22nd of February. What year? Every year. Get out. And then I have a question here for you, is that it kind of goes to show how dark this movie is, really, truly. When you realize that all the kids... So he finishes up drinking his cranberry juice, leaves the pub, almost gets hit by Nick Frost's character.
Yeah.
Nicholas? I think is his... No, Nicholas is...
Nicholas Angel.
Nicholas Angel, and then I never remember his name.
Yeah, I don't remember either. Let me pull
It's
it
the
up.
partner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Danny?
Fuzz.
Danny. It's Danny, isn't it?
Yeah.
Danny.
Danny Butterman.
Yeah, Danny almost hits him with his car. Danny's obviously drunk. We don't know who he is yet. So he takes him in, and then like he shows up to the police precinct with like 3 other like kids, it looks like teenagers, who he had just kicked out of the pub. How dark is it that every single one of them except for Danny end up dead?
Yeah.
Like you see them later in the fucking sewer, and they're dead.
Yeah.
They murdered them for those indiscretions.
Yeah, the Neighborhood Watch Association.
Good
man.
Lord. Like, how dark is that?
Crusty jugglers.
Yes.
Big bushy.
A great big bushy. That's right here. So we come up on his first day, and we get the chief inspector intro, and he's like, oh, you're like this other guy. He's from the big city, and he had one thing that you haven't got. What's that, sir? A great big bushy beard. The amount of times I've heard, if I had a nickel for every time Tad said that to me, I'd have a shitload of nickels.
Yes, indeed.
I would have a lot of nickels.
It's just a great line.
It is. It's so funny. Did you have any first thoughts on the squad and the inspector when he first got to Sanford and met them here?
I mean, it's just kind of what you'd expect, right? Just the small towny folks. Like, it plays out through the rest of the movie. You know, it's just they're not the level of cop that he is, right? And it's just that's just the fun dichotomy of it is, you know, like what he is versus what they are. It just doesn't jive, and they fit the town where he really doesn't.
Absolutely.
But then Danny obviously wants to be the
what Nicholas is
Yeah.
and everything.
yeah.
But Nicholas doesn't even want to be what Danny's talking about.
Yeah,
and
no,
everything.
no,
So
no.
interesting character dynamic there with those two.
Yeah.
And we'll be talking more about that relationship later with something that I read. And I wrote down some lines that I fucking love. Everyone is packing. Like who? Farmers. Who else?
Farmers' mums.
That's right.
Also, I'm looking at IMDb. Robert Popper is on the cast listing here. You know what his character is?
Who?
Not Janie.
Not Janie.
That's the character.
I'm not Janie. Janie, I have to move. I've been reassigned
So wait,
to the country.
is he actually saying that he's not Janie, or is he saying his name is not Janie? The fact his cast listing is that.
I'm
it's
not
like,
Janie.
oh no, I've gone cross-eyed.
I know. I've gone cross-eyed.
Because you would say that too. Somebody came up and was like,
Yeah.
hi, Paul. You're like, I'm Peter. That's how
Is that-
that's what you
yeah.
would say is like, no, or you would just be like, I'm Peter.
Yeah.
So if his name was
I'm Peter.
not Janie,
Yeah,
he'd be
not
like,
Janie's
I'm
his
not
actual
Janie.
name. That would be such a classic way for Edgar Wright to slip that in.
Oh, I love it.
And then this is where what you were talking about, that every line pays off. They have their first day together, Danny and Nicholas do. And Danny's asking him, have you ever shot 2 guns while jumping through the air? Have you ever shot 1 gun? Have you ever shot a gun while in a high-speed chase? Have you ever fired your gun in the air and gone, ah? All of those things. You make a list, every single one of them happens later. Not all done by Nicholas Angel.
Yeah.
Danny does a few of them himself. But how awesome is that the payoff there, like you were saying earlier, just like how much it comes back around full circle to every line.
Yeah. I was just
farmers and farmers' moms have
Yeah,
guns.
they end up
That comes
having
back
guns.
later.
I just realized Joyce Cooper, my lady, fascist.
Yeah.
I just clicked on her actor. I don't know if I've ever done this before. She was the fucking evil maid in The Omen.
Oh my God. Like the original one?
The original Omen.
Oh my God, really?
1976. Yeah, it's like looking at her thing and it says Miss Baylock, and I was like, is that the fucking evil
You're like,
maid?
wait a minute.
So I clicked on it, and yep, that's the evil maid.
There's one. Speaking of connections, we got 2 to Game of Thrones here.
Yes. I just
this.
saw a video recently
Yeah.
where they were talking to Maisie Williams, and this is probably back during the final season or whatever. She's on
Yeah.
like late night or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
And they were talking about like, oh, you've really had some cool like matchups in Game of Thrones. Like you had a whole extended section you were playing with Charles Dance, obviously.
Yeah.
I forget the Hound's name, but it's like you had a long time playing with the Hound, and like, oh, do you have any like stories? And she said, yeah, actually, when I first met him. She's like, I thought he was just so familiar. And she's like, so I finally went and like looked him up. And she's like, so then I
Rory McCann.
Yeah, Rory. And she's like, so then when I looked through his IMDb, and she's like, so I went to set the next day, went up to him, and she's like, were you in Hot Fuzz? And he's like, Yarp.
That's the Hound. Oh, it's so great. And then they get called out to the farmer that has all the guns and the mine and everything.
Oh,
And
that's Walder Frey.
That's Walder Frey.
That's what I thought about when I first. I mean,
Yep.
now it's reversed in my mind. When I was watching Game of Thrones for the first time, I'm like, oh.
Hot Fuzz.
I'm like,
Hot Fuzz.
Yeah, it's like he's got a gun.
He's got a gun. Don't trust him. He's a bad guy. You hear
Do you have a permit for that gun? The guy
I-
about this one.
He has one for this one. What do you mean this one? And he opens up. He has a fucking arsenal of guns.
Which, of course, ends up paying off.
Yeah.
Because he need the arsenal for that final shootout.
That's right.
So,
Again, everything pays off.
everything.
The Swan comes back around
yeah,
later.
the mine.
Yep.
The fucking sea mine that
Yeah.
the dude has in his shed.
Yep. Ends up blowing up the police precinct and
The
everything.
Swan.
Yeah, that's what I just said. The Swan comes back around.
Yeah.
There's even a line that I caught there that was in the trivia that apparently it's said that a swan's wings beat so hard that it can break your arm. Like if you put your arm out and the swan hits it just right with its wings, it'll shatter your arm. And if you watch, someone says that about the swan. One of the Andes does is like, "Oh, watch out, it'll break your arm" or something like that. Just a throwaway line. You
Yeah.
miss it. I never caught it before. But if you're watching it, the dad who ends up in the police car with the swan in the back and it hisses at him and he wrecks and everything like that. If you're watching him in his mug shots, dude's arm is in a sling because it's broken. So even that is called back.
Dude, Edgar Wright, this is like just writing perfection. I love
I know.
I think I love every Edgar Wright movie too, to one extent or another. Even the more modern ones,
Yeah.
I don't think people give as much love to, but it's like, but this movie is just like, it's so tightly written,
Yeah.
so tight. I mean, the acting is great across the board. The humor in it is just my temper. Like, I love Shaun of the Dead. I'm a zombie fan. We've talked about we had a whole episode on zombies already,
Yep.
and they've come up throughout the show too. But it's like, so Shaun of the Dead was like cater made for me,
Right.
But this one I ended up loving more than Shaun of the Dead. It's
Yeah.
just this is the tops for me. So
I think the fact that every single line, and I'm sticking with your is hypothesized by Tad, comes back around and has a payoff later.
yeah,
I think we literally need to go through that one day, Tad, and conduct a study and see if it actually is true.
yeah.
But this is where we but have our first real scene with Timothy Dalton,
Oh my God,
which Robert Skinner is.
dude. Is he the only Bond that can truly play a villain? Because so many other Bonds, they just have something about them that it's like you couldn't see him as a villain.
Daniel Craig could. Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know,
Daniel
man.
Craig. Daniel Craig has played assholes already, and I think he could play.
I don't know.
Honestly,
'Cause-
I think his role in Knives Out.
And Benoit Blanc almost makes him
I was
more
gonna say,
lovable.
I was gonna say his role in Knives Out is honestly probably more of an argument saying that he can't, because Benoit Blanc is amazing.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I just think there's something about a Bonds, and I think it's probably the way they cast them.
Yeah.
There's just not a lot that you could, because even like Pierce Brosnan, like Pierce and Dalton were very close. Like what was supposed to be the next Dalton movie ended up being Pierce's first movie, right?
Goldeneye.
And it's just like, so even when those that like I can't see Pierce Brosnan as a bad guy. There's just something about Bond actors, but Dalton though, he can fucking do it, dude.
He
He's
nailed it.
and he did it in fucking was it 1923. He's in that too. He's the fucking rich benefactor that's hiring the people to go after the main characters or something.
I don't know that movie. 1923.
The show, the 18 whatever sequel, the Yellowstone show.
Right.
He's
Oh,
like
yeah.
he's like the rich banker guy or whatever.
The sheep farmer guy gets gets hired by him to go after Harrison Ford's character.
And immediately I'm just like, you could see villainy in this guy. And Skinner's the same. It's just like,
I am a slasher who must be stopped.
But he also has such a charisma, though, that when you watch this movie, it's like you kind of see that he could be evil, but at the same time, he's so charismatic that he's like, he'd get me.
Yeah.
Like my guard would be down.
Yeah.
Like that smile
Look
and
at
everything.
that
It's
smile.
just,
He's offering me a cookie.
I'm
biscuit?
a slasher. I must be stopped.
I must be stopped. What? A slasher of prices. But this is where we're at the.
Those lines are so good.
This is where at the grocery store and everything, and he says, "Well, you obviously need to address that." And a merchant pulls up, another callback. Merchant doing something bad. He parks in like the no parking zone.
Yeah.
I never caught that before. The merchants, that's who it is George Merchant, which is one of the murder victims.
Yeah.
He's like, no, actually not him. Him. And it's the dude that they were talking about on the sidewalk wearing like the tracksuit with the hat. Maybe he's fuck ugly.
Yeah. Why is he wearing a coat? It's something about the heat. Why would he be wearing a
No,
thick coat?
that's a different character. That's the one wearing the big green coat.
Yeah.
That's that guy. This one's wearing the purple jumpsuit and everything. He's stuffing stuff into his pockets.
Yeah.
And then I have here just the pursuit through the gardens always cracks me up because
dude.
he's like jumping over the fences and he like does like a fucking aerial flip and then Danny just crashes through the fence.
I don't know.
Oh,
Man.
it's so good. But then we get a twist in the movie where they get invited to the Shakespeare show. They go to the show after pulling over the leads of the show who were speeding and everything. And then we get our first murder. First two murders, actually. And I just have here, how great is Timothy Dalton? Like the whole bash your head in.
Yeah.
I'm a slasher of prices.
All kinds of secrets that
come tumbling out and everything. And then we see the murders happen, and then we see that it's set up as, it's an accident. They had an automobile collision. Decaffeinated?
Is Dalton the MVP too, movie wise? For me, I think he might be the MVP.
I think so.
It's so good, and he also brings like a gravitas because he is a fucking Bond, right?
Yeah.
Like he's probably the second to least Bond.
Yeah.
He only had 2 movies, but there is the one guy that only had 1. So
yeah.
But yeah, there's just something about him. It's like, to get a Bond in your movie, dude.
Yeah.
That's fucking cool.
Yeah, you had James Bond in this, and he was a bad guy. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. I put here just pretty good detective work on Angel's part. No skid marks. Now who's being childish?
Yeah.
Have you watched that scene very closely? The two Andys there.
Yeah, I mean,
There's the one that's like, now who's being challenged? But did you see the face on the other one? I've never looked at him, so I'm always focused on the guy who's got the cigarette pointing at Nicholas.
Yeah.
The other guy's just like,
yeah.
like trying not to laugh. Because poop humor, potty humor.
Indeed.
And then we move on. We got the church fair, which they really made it out to be Simon Skinner. Another murder happens. The reporter gets
oh my God, dude.
gets squished by a.
Dude, I had to leave the theater.
You were laughing,
Dude, I laughed so fucking hard. And I know it's not played for laughs, but dude, when that steeple came down and pulverized him, dude, I started laughing so hard I couldn't breathe. And nobody else in the theater was laughing, and everyone started looking at me, so I got up and walked out to compose myself. Dude, it's still probably the biggest reaction I've ever gotten in a theater. Like, just...
Oh, my God.
And I know it's not supposed to be funny, but dude, I'm a horror guy.
Yeah.
I love gore. Okay, I'll take that back. I may have laughed close to that hard in South Park, the movie.
Yeah.
I almost couldn't breathe in that. I feel like I got close to blacking out. I was laughing so hard. But I was supposed to laugh at that.
Yes.
A steeple, going down to here on the guy.
Turning him into Conehead kind of guy.
Yeah. A reverse Conehead.
A reverse Conehead.
Oh, it's so good,
He's
dude.
Steeple Man. He's coming for you, Ted.
Oh, dude, it's so funny. So good.
So we get into the investigation here. And I love that the couples things where they fight and they make up, but then they make up to solve the crime is classic. Like that's callback to many action movies,
and even like romantic.
Yeah, there's always
movies.
the fight in the middle of it, and then they make up.
Because I feel like I saw an interview at some point, probably closer to the release of the movie, where Edgar Wright was asked about like, you really didn't have any like love interest in this movie. He's like, I actually was writing one out. He's like, and then like when I finally got down to it, I decided it wasn't that necessary. So I just took like the one scene I really liked and just gave it to Danny.
Actually, there's a bit of trivia that I wrote. That's one of the 2 trivias that I wrote down. Here, I'll just go down.
And you know the scene, right? It's
it.
with them where he like gives them the whole heartfelt speech and stuff. And it's like every time I watch that now, I have that in my mind where it's like this is originally written to be like a love interest.
So there's actually more than one scene. It says the first draft of the script included a love interest for Nicholas named Victoria. She was cut from subsequent drafts, and a good amount of her dialogue was given to Danny, often without any changes.
Yeah.
And if you go back and you watch the movie, you can point out which scenes it is, because like there's the investigation where we're at right now in the thing is they get snippy with each other, and he's like, Danny goes, well, you just can't switch off, and he goes running away with the monkey.
Yeah.
That's absolutely supposed to be a love interest there.
Absolutely.
And then
and
later
you could tell,
on,
and I think Nick plays it perfectly.
They play it like it's a love interest.
Yeah, he
too.
plays it very like feminine, like
he goes running off and he's holding his hat so it doesn't fall off.
It's so good, dude.
Carrying a big old stuffed monkey, which by the way, think we're talking about callbacks.
Talking about me or the monkey?
Is he talking about me or them? I think the monkey's a callback to the fact that the ice cream flavor that Danny has to buy for drunken driving is Chunky Monkey.
Oh yeah, dude.
There's the callback.
Every fucking, I swear to God, everything in this movie comes back. Like I've even looked to see if like somebody out there has done like a film or like one of those video essays.
Yeah.
Because like I legit wonder, man. I may end up looking like one of those crazy people with
like the yarn,
in this, because everything.
Dad, I'm gonna need some red yarn.
Everything.
We got a board. We're ready.
Yeah. The model town.
Yes, the model town's so good. The movie has a better plot than most movies nowadays. Is my next note. I think that it's just so good.
Jack just popped up in the chat. Says, "Hey guys, my first live of Geekery, and what an episode of Hot Fuzz is amazing. For the record, I grew up in a similar town, and it's exactly how they act. Even the murders, probably." Oh, and
yes.
Dude, we went too far. We'd have not mentioned the human statue or the living statue, dude.
The living statue.
One of my favorite fucking just small nothing things. Like, what do they call him? Just so irritating.
Yeah. He must be dealt with. The neighborhood watch guy.
Dead. When they find him dead, it's so funny, dude.
He's still the exact same pose.
Crusty jugglers.
What did you think about the whole accusing Skinner reveal that he's not injured? Because that's after the... like he's like, it's Skinner and I can prove it because he sees the murder with the shears and everything like that. Oh,
Which,
no,
that's a brutal one too,
dude, right in the neck. Good
Again,
Lord.
as a longtime horror fan, I always appreciate when I find horror level kills in non-horror movies, and this one has it in a couple different spots.
I mean, we just talked about a guy getting crushed by a steeple, but not fully crushed.
And at one point, weren't they talking about a fundraiser to repair the church roof?
That's literally what the swear box is for, and then the fair is also.
So then to push that, because the church again, everything pays off.
Oh no, there's this right here. I actually think I put this in the wrong spot. The reveal of Skinner's actually in the next section. Sorry. There's a scene where he talks about wearing the stab vest at the very beginning. Why are you wearing that? Because it's protocol. And he goes, "Why, you worried about getting stabbed?"
It's the most painful thing I've ever.
It's the most painful thing that's ever. What's the second most painful thing? Yeah, but if you watch the movie again, as the movie progresses and he starts to get acclimated to Sanford, he actually stops wearing the vest until the final showdown.
Yeah,
where he rides back in the horse, he's wearing the vest again.
Yeah.
So it's like he's slowly. It's like a progression. Like, oh, the town's gonna get him. They're gonna convert him, and he's gonna be one of them. And that's one of the things that they show is that he stops wearing the vest. He stops wearing the hat. He stops being like the official policeman that he is, police officer and everything that he is.
Policeman officer.
Yeah. So then we get the reveal that there's the attack when he goes to buy Danny the birthday gift. Leslie is killed with her own shears. She trips and falls on him, though.
Yeah,
Horrible
naturally.
accident. And the killer runs away. I fucking love the killer running, like holding the cloak and running, like very rigid to try and keep the head on and everything.
Yeah.
And I just remember we talked about this in the Indiana Jones episode, the video of Indiana Jones stapling his hat on.
Yeah.
I just imagine what they had to do to keep that hood up while the people were running. And then Nicholas figures out that it really is Skinner. And that's where I should have had my note. Like the whole leg reveal, like, You received a cut on your leg. A cut on your leg. And it's like, this is getting sad.
Yeah.
Obviously, I was here at the grocery store. Watch the footage. And then he goes back to his hotel and he gets attacked by Lurch.
Yarp.
And the monkey. The monkey is what saves him. And he destroys his peace lily. I also love that Nicholas calls that. Not Nicholas. Danny calls that out. Like, what happened to your peace lily?
Yeah.
Like, that's what you're worried about right now? There's a giant man who just attacked me. So we find out about the neighborhood watch, and I just said, the scene with the chanting,
How can this be for the greater good? Shut it!
I read in the trivia that the greater good is never said without another character saying it again. In every single instance.
I was watching listening to a podcast for House of the Dragon, and this last episode, somebody said the greater good, and they actually played the chant.
Did they really?
Yeah, they did. I was like, dude, that's
yes!
I was like, that's amazing. Because honestly, have you heard the phrase the greater good since 2007 and not immediately thought of this?
No, I've always muttered it, even if it's like an inappropriate time. Well, this really is for the greater good that your mother is passing. The greater good. I'm just like muttering. No, like it's horrible, inappropriate situations where I'm doing that. We're going to have to amputate his foot. It's for the greater good. The greater good.
Mm-hmm.
What? Nothing? I said, really, the twist here really solidified for me that this is really a great movie and well written, is because they're not killing them for any real reason other than to keep their town clean.
Yeah.
In their way. And this is where we find out that literally they were belayed by gypsies and crusty jugglers.
Yeah.
That's supposedly what killed the mom, is that she was driving too fast because she was mad at them.
Yeah. The old cop, the great big
The old
bushy
cop
beard.
was killed because he wouldn't conform.
Yeah.
The living statues down there. All the kids that I mentioned earlier are down there. The shoplifters down there.
Yeah.
And then how amazing is it for you? I have to ask this because you're a horrible person. How great is it for you that they killed them literally for those reasons?
Oh, I mean,
not actual like oh we have a secret society and we're protecting our no we killed him because he has an ugly fucking house.
Yeah, her laugh's annoying.
or
doesn't that put them to like the highest level of villainy?
Like, it's gotta be, right? Like, it's one thing to kick a baby. It's another thing to kick a baby because
it's wearing a red shirt.
Yeah, because it's a red shirt and that's your least favorite color.
Yeah.
Like, there's a difference there, you know? Like,
Yeah, no, it's great, and it does add like a level of villainy to them for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it though. I love the reveal. Because I remember the first time watching it and just being like trying to figure it out. You know, you assume it's Skinner and stuff, but it's just like, oh man. Then it's like,
what if it's not just Skinner?
Then like, and again, it's all set up too, because it's right. You get the introduction to the NWA, and it all makes total sense, and like they're tracking what they're doing. It's like, oh, so you catch them swans then? It's just a one swan.
It's one actually.
Yeah, so
that's the line that makes him realize, like, oh, what if it's more than one person?
Yeah, but it's like it also shows that they're cluing into like what you're doing at every moment.
Officer
right?
Angel's coming into your shop.
Yeah,
out his ours.
Oh, dude, I love this movie so much. It's always, like I said, outside of, and to me, to put it up in the realm of like Monty Python and Airplane, to put it in that tier is like, I would say that would have been untouchable.
Yeah.
To get in that tier.
Until you saw this.
I mean, there's like movies I love, like Spaceballs and some great, wonderful comedies. All the Ace Ventura, Liar Liar, all this shit I love. None of that shit gets to the same tier.
No.
You know, so I would have said like, no, it's just those two movies and that's it. But 2007, man.
It changed.
Yeah, and dude, the steeple going up through.
We're getting there.
That is one of the more brutal. Dude, three things in this movie that are like horror movie level brutal.
Shears to the neck.
Shears, steeple, and then steeple.
Steeple.
Steeple going up, steeple going down.
Steeple going both ways.
I love the little tiny town too.
Oh, it's so
the
great.
Model
the little
village.
model.
It's so.
Aaron A. Anderson's just hanging out, looking at it. So we get Danny saves Nicholas and tells him to go back to London, and he's like, "I'll come back with that scene was made for lovers.
Yeah.
Like that was supposed to be a lover there with the red and everything. Like, it's dramatic. No, I can't. It's my dad.
Yeah,
you know, and everything like that. And so he leaves, realizes what he's got to do, so he comes back. Gets the arsenal of fucking guns.
Yeah.
And I love, there's so many movie tropes here that he does.
Oh,
he rides in on a horse and then sends the horse away before the shooting starts.
Yeah. It's got the toothpick.
He's got the toothpick.
There's
not a single fucking reload in the entire rest of the movie. No one reloads.
As it should.
Like, they shoot 100 bullets out of their gun and they never reload.
That's where you get them jumping through the air.
Yep.
All the fun things they set
the
up.
high speed chase, shooting a gun out the window and everything like that. But I took a note here. Old West theme when he's riding in on a horse. It's like a almost a little bit.
Also, he does do the Point Break, shooting up in the air when
shooting
his
up in the air with
everything.
His dad. Everything is called back.
Everything calls back in this movie. I swear to God.
I don't know if you remember the green coat guy. We talked about him earlier. He pulls out a shotgun. Is that your Terminator shotgun that you love so much?
I don't remember. I don't remember the shotgun exactly.
Yeah, he whips open his coat and he pulls out the shotgun, and it's got the handle that's not a pistol grip, but it like goes back, and then it's got the action lever reload.
Yeah, I mean that would. Yeah,
that looks a lot like your Terminator shotgun from
1887.
Terminator 2. Yeah.
Yeah, probably is then. Yeah, which again pays off his coat from earlier, right?
That's what he was hiding.
Yeah.
The woman on the bike has a pistols in her
the priest. You must be a man of peace. Oh, fuck off.
Fuck off, grasshopper. I love that this whole big shootout, no one dies. They're all hitting the shoulders and
or hitting the head
with a potted plant. That's my next note. Fascist.
Oh, dude, I love her.
The fascist
so much,
has a machine gun, and it's a German machine gun. Fascist.
Again, I legit. That's like a dark horse tattoo idea for me.
It's
her with the machine gun.
Absolutely.
Flames coming out of the barrel.
Absolutely, you should get that. There's the shootout at the bar. The bear trap comes down.
Yeah.
If that had taken his head off, we'd be talking about that death. But the whole supermarket shootout. I had to take a note at the bar.
Jack asks if that's the one that Arnold spins in the T2. Yeah,
that's the one we're talking about when he's on the bike and he spins it.
It's 1887. In terms of like, it's funny like historically because they actually hired John Browning, which huge gun guy. He invented a lot of the more even modern guns that are still out there. A company hired him to like, hey, we want you to make a lever action shotgun. Lever action guns are all the rage right now. And he's like, okay, I can do that for you. But right now I'm actually developing what would eventually be the pump action. And he's like, I'm developing something for another company that'll basically make that completely pointless. So are you sure you want to pay me for this? I'm like, yeah, just do it. So they made it. They made it for 1 year. And then like a year later, the pump action shotgun came out. It's a very niche thing in history, but obviously Terminator is the main reason I love that gun.
Yeah,
but,
Terminator 2, one of your all-time favorite movies.
Oh,
so.
yeah. Yep. It's wonderful.
I had to call out an action thing from the bar. They pop up and shoot. They drop down. The bar people pop up and shoot.
Yeah.
They drop down. And they're behind a wooden table. Have you actually ever seen someone shoot through a wooden table in real life? Like, what happens to it?
Oh, I mean, yeah,
It doesn't stop bullets
No.
at all.
I laugh. That's one of the things that really like makes me laugh in movies is the minute shit that people hide behind.
They
that
jump
bullets
behind a
stop.
sofa
Yeah.
or even like car doors.
Even car doors. Like,
They don't stop bullets
No,
that well.
the only thing that's going to stop a bullet with your car is your engine block.
Yeah.
So it's like that's the only but it's movies, I get it, but it always makes me laugh. There was something I saw probably in the last month. I don't remember what it was, but there was somebody that hid behind something that was actually I remember thinking about Hot Fuzz that the Hot Fuzz table was actually less ridiculous than what I saw. So I don't remember what it was, but it was something so thin that like
It was a tarp.
like it probably wasn't far from the truth of what I forget what it was, but it was something where I remember thinking to myself, dude, as a kid I had a BB gun that you could like pump.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if I would have pumped that BB gun like high, I probably would have gone through whatever it was in the movie that the guy was safely hiding behind in the movie.
Well,
For-
someone was shooting at him with a machine gun,
like
right?
a real full-on
Yeah.
gun, yeah. So yeah, it makes me laugh. But I think with this movie, they're actually trying to
Yeah.
like play that trope. But I will say that is a robust table they have in that.
It is a pretty thick mahogany-looking table.
Yeah.
But there's the scene where he pops up the noise, like almost like a noise when he pops up to look. No one shoots at him when he pops up. He sees the bear trap, and instead of just getting up and shooting, he does the spin around and shoot. And then we get the shootout at the supermarket, and over the top stuff with the spaghetti sauce. He thinks that his partner is Andy. And they're not even shooting; they're throwing cutlery and vegetables and and fruit.
I think the grocery store stuff's some of my favorite in the entire movie. Both early in the movie and in the shootout, it's just my favorite shit.
And then I knocked him into the icebox. Did you say something cool like "chill out" or whatever? Danny says. No, I didn't. Shame.
Yeah.
And then he says, "Well, when I hit him, when I threw him the monkey earlier to distract him, I said playtime's over. Then I hit him with my pistol off the fucking chain."
Jack says a Naked Gun. There's a shootout scene on the roof. The camera goes back and forth, and turns out they're 5 feet apart.
Yeah.
I want to say it's Naked Gun too. There's one where it's like I want to say it's like Danny Glover or someone of his size, and they're hiding behind like a tree or a pole that's like maybe a quarter of their size, but they're actually hiding behind it for cover, and it's just one of the most comedic things because it's like I can see majority of you.
There's a movie that we talked about on here. It has Val Kilmer in it, and it's a spoof movie like that. It's like a spy spoof movie. And all I remember is like they're in a building and they're shooting out, and he like breaks out a pane. There's 9 panes, and he breaks out one and he starts shooting, and then they shoot out a middle one, and so they play tic-tac-toe with the window. It's so stupid.
Yeah.
Or in the scene he's crawling, and all of a sudden there's a pair of boots, like oh no, the boots, and then he like supposed to look up and there's supposed to be someone there. It's just a pair of boots in the middle of this fucking field. So we get to the final showdown here, and I gotta say, what a fight, what a fist fight Timothy Dalton and Simon Pegg have.
Yeah.
You got the over the top punches and the water's flowing, which is from the first Lethal Weapon.
Yeah,
It's
fire
literally
hydrant,
fire
right?
hydrant is what is happening in the first Lethal Weapon.
You know what's funny is I've completely forgot about that. So probably in like the last decade, I watched Lethal Weapon, the first one, and it's probably the first time I've seen it
And
since
you're like,
I was a
hey!
kid. And I was like, oh, that's what Hot Fuzz is
Yeah.
referencing. So it's like a reverse reference for me, which is something as a Simpsons fan I'm very familiar with.
Yes.
But yeah, I was like, oh, that's where Hot Fuzz is.
And then he beats him, goes over to talk to Aaron A. Anderson, and Dalton gets up and pulls out a box cutter, which is just so funny because when this movie came out in 2007, we were both working at Walmart and had very similar box cutters to that. A little bit different model here in America versus England, but we had box cutters for us, and it's just like he pulls out a box cutter and charges him. He doesn't do anything to him. He just trips, like slips on something and steeple through the jaw.
oh man, it's so good. Yeah, like I said, those three things in this are like horror movie level shit. Which
Oh,
again,
yeah.
they did Shaun of the Dead, so I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love it as a horror fan. Anytime horror level gore comes into a non-horror movie, I'm always quite pleased.
So there, I just got to call out one last bit of note here at the end is the neighborhood watch guy does die. I mean, he gets blown up by a fucking sea mine.
Yeah.
So I guess there is one death.
Yeah.
I already read my one trivia. I know we're close to time. This other trivia, I don't know if you've heard this, and this is, I hope you haven't heard this. I really do, because I hadn't heard this, and this blew my fucking mind. Because I think we should go find this person and point at them and laugh. Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg went to the Brixton police station hoping to get some anecdotes from serving officers, and they even offered to take them to the pub. However, every officer refused to speak to them. It soon turned out that the liaison officer had wrongly told his colleagues that Wright and Pegg were journalists. The liaison officer has never been forgiven by his coworkers.
So they were trying to get what from them?
Anecdotes. They wanted to go talk and see how police officers talked.
Oh, okay.
And so the liaison officer told all the cops that Pegg and Wright were journalists, and so they were like, "Fuck you! We're not talking to journalists." Still to this day, according to this trivia, that liaison officer still has not lived it down. Dude, we need to go find that person and just point and laugh at them. Like, what are you doing here?
Oh man, that's I hadn't heard that. Jack says, yeah, I was just about to say the Simpsons reverse references. Dude, it's a real thing, man.
Oh, yeah.
It's a real thing.
Absolutely.
When you're so surrounded by spoofs in different ways, especially at a younger age, and then as you grow up and see the things that, it's a reverse thing. And I would say some of the Edgar Wright stuff is that way. Hell, there's even some spoofs like Airplane. I've still never seen the real movie the Airplane's based off of.
Yeah.
So I'm sure at some point I could watch that and it would just be a whole fucking chuckle because it's like
you're like, hey.
Yeah, all the references.
That's what I was gonna. I have 4 questions here for you. Do you have a favorite action movie trope parody?
I mean, the whole final shootout. It's just such a. It's hard. You can't necessarily point to. I can't point and define every single little thing, but it's just the whole thing of it is just. It's so over the top. It's so over dramatic. It's so just silly. Like the jumping and shooting, just like
the car chase where they're shooting out the windows at each other and everything.
Like bang, bang, bang.
Yeah.
I don't know, but for me, it's probably just like everything with that final shootout because it's just so over the top, so comedic. I don't know. I love it.
I'm not gonna lie. There is a personal one for me. It's when he gets dumped and he's doing like the whole move and everything like that, and he's like falling asleep and like the train comes past, it's like jarring and everything like that. It's very reminiscent of Man on Fire, which came out 3 years before this film, so it obviously was influenced by that.
Yeah.
But that was a huge thing there in the 2000s for like that jarring. All of a sudden there's a loud noise and the camera's all shaky and blurry and out of focus and everything, and he's like trying to like focus on the train and everything. That one got to me, but obviously the big one is Lethal Weapon with the fire hydrant. That was the big one.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite police officer other than Danny and Nick? So you got Saxon and his handler. You got the woman, and then you got the 2 Andys and the dummy.
Who's the old guy?
That's the one with the dog.
Yeah, probably that he. Yeah, I like him.
The mumbler, the grum. Why do we need the dog? We don't need the dog.
Yeah.
Danny can translate him, and he can translate the old man, the guy with the sea mine.
Yeah. Yeah. I like the girl too.
Oh yeah, where she's constantly like making herself out to be a trollop.
Yeah, she's great. She's not a police woman. She's a police officer. Yeah. I've seen her.
I've seen her bra.
Yeah. She's a police officer.
Yeah.
What is? And then when they're in the school, is it true that there's a place in a man's head that if you shoot it, their head blows up?
It explodes. Can we have you handcuff the teacher? No, I don't think that gives off the right impression. Radio takes the picture.
Oh man, I love it.
This other question that I had, we already kind of talked about, is why other satire films don't do it for you. We already talked about that, so we don't need to talk about that.
I think for me, it's intelligence.
Yeah,
like I think like there's some of the, especially the more modern, which it's weird because some of those are 15, 20 years ago. But the more modern, which I guess this falls in the same era. That's the crazy thing, is this is coming out with some of those epic teen movie bullshit movies.
Yeah,
this is coming out at the same time as those. But a lot of those, I feel like they're just lowest common denominator. There's not a lot of like thought to them, and you know me well enough over the years, and maybe the people listening have heard enough for it. But I love humor that like not that you have to think about, but like I love history jokes and stuff where it's just like, oh, if you're a fan of history, you're going to get some jokes where like, you know, I could tell, you know, say something, not even tell a joke to a group, but it's like say something in a group of 12 people here and like 2 people laugh. Like I enjoy that. It's like, yeah, see, because you know history enough to like laugh at my joke. Like it's like, not that I'm trying to be like elitist or anything, but it's like, and I think with this, like there's a smartness to it, or like also a knowledge of the genre as well. Like I just saw a thing recently where someone was like, you know, oh, I keep hearing that like Cabin in the Woods is a shitty movie and stuff, and like someone basically answered, they're just like, if someone says that, they just don't know the horror genre, and that's not to be like a gatekeeper, but it's just that is a movie made for like people that are absolutely fucking immersed in the horror genre. And I think that's what it comes down to, is like this is like, it isn't punching to the lowest denominator. It's just like, if you love fucking horror movies, like you are going to find, or action movies, you're going to find like references all over the place. But also even outside of that, there still is something there if you don't, that you could still enjoy the fuck out of this movie, because it's just, it's funny. I think the setup and payoffs, again, I don't know if any movie's ever done it as well in terms of like setup and payoffs of this movie. And then just the absurd. I love absurd humor.
He gets transferred to the country because he's too good.
Yeah.
And then when he gets transferred away, they start doing so badly they need him back.
They need him back. Yeah.
And then the hardest question, and I have to save it for last because I'm an asshole. Which is your favorite murder?
You
got a guy getting blown up. They try to frame it as he's cooking a late night snack.
I like the description of the, what is it, bacon and beans?
Bacon and beans.
Like this one, they're describing it and showing him do it. It's all great.
You got the shears in the neck.
Shears.
You got the beheading with the axe.
Yeah.
And then the steeple.
I don't know. That's probably.
I need an answer, Ted. We're not leaving until I get an answer.
I like the explosion one.
Just,
just because the way it's like framed too.
Over the steeple?
I mean, the steeple was really funny for sure, but in terms of funny for me, But I don't know. The steeple's hard to pick against. I guess again, it almost killed me. It's one of the only things that's ever made me walk out of a movie theater because I was laughing so hard.
You're such a degen.
Yeah, I mean, those are my 2 favorite stories. Is this one with that, and then I've told you the story about Saw 2. Where I went and saw Saw 2 with 2 different groups. I think I went with you the first time. Another group of people wanted to go with me, and so I'd already seen it. Going the next day, I think we went on Friday, was going to go on Saturday. And this is back in the day, no reserve seating, whatever. And I thought to myself, I'm like, I've got an idea. So I don't remember what kill it was, but there was a kill that happened 20, 30 minutes into the movie, and it was just brutal as all fuck. Saw 2, whatever.
2.
I pulled a small notebook out and went, that's a good idea, and started writing in the notebook. Dude, this couple next to me was,
I remember this,
was like teenagers, like high school kids. Dude, like the girl was sitting next to me. She leans over, says something to him. I see him kind of look at me. They end up getting up and walking out. They never came back.
That's a good idea. He writes it down, motherfucker.
That, and then having to walk out for this. And I'm sure everyone was judging me because, again, I don't think the steeple's played for laughs.
No.
Like, it's absurd, which is why it made me laugh. But, it just wasn't. I think it's pretty shocking to most people. But for me, it was absolutely fucking hysterical.
Yeah. Well, that's our love letter to Hot Fuzz. We love this movie. I love 2 out of the 3 Cornetto films.
You need to revisit. I still.
That's another topic for another day. I almost watched Shaun of the Dead and at World's End.
Because what I was going to tell you is, I think what the problem is that these movies are spiritually connected, but they're really not connected, and they're all radically different movies: horror, action, sci-fi. And I think the problem is that Hot Fuzz is so fucking great that to follow up, if you have any inclination that it's going to be anything like Hot Fuzz or close to Hot Fuzz or even in the same style of Hot Fuzz, you're going to be disappointed by it. It's kind of like the Pacific, right? And I just think if you're in the wrong headspace, but it's like, I feel like if you revisited it now knowing that, like,
I'm also a lot more mature now, so a lot of the stuff in Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead was very of the time, my age fit me, the zombie kills, the over-the-top violence and funniness in Hot Fuzz. But I don't know if I was mature enough for At World's End because it is a little bit different than the other
more
2.
about being like an aged person, like aging out of, like, you're not a young adult anymore.
Exactly.
So
I think I'm more since I'm much closer to 40 than I was 30 back then,
yes, that's true. So you've seen the 3. You've seen Scott Pilgrim.
I love Scott Pilgrim.
You've seen Baby Driver.
Love Baby Driver.
Okay, and then what about Last Night in Soho?
I have not seen that one yet.
You need to check that one out, dude.
Okay, that's
I
the
was
other right
midway
film.
through that one when I realized that I had seen or heard an interview with him like months and months and months before that was kind of his like horror movie. Like it isn't like full on like hardcore horror, but it's horror enough. And I remember being like midway and being like, this is kind of dark. And I'm like, oh my fucking God. I remember that interview from like 6 months ago. This is actually supposed to be, it's really good. I wanted to just go through the checklist to make sure Edgar Wright wise, because Edgar is a genius, man. I think he's so stylized too that I feel like you kind of know his movies. There's a feel to them.
Yeah.
Even if they're all different. Like there's an Edgar Wright vibe that just no one can match. Like I feel like even if you turn to like Last Night in Soho, if you accidentally turned it on, if TV still existed for us, and you accidentally turned it on to watch, I feel like at a certain point you'd be like, this feels like Edgar Wright.
God, this feels like
And then you'd look it up like, oh my God, it is. I feel like he's just one of those kind of filmmakers.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Hot Fuzz is his crown jewel in my opinion
love
for
Hot
sure. I
Fuzz.
love most of his movies, but this movie is like head and shoulder. It's like what's his Spaceballs? I just blanked on his name. The director, Mel Brooks.
Mel Brooks.
It's like all of his shit's good, but most people have a favorite,
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's the same way here. And Hot Fuzz is the favorite. That's probably why we're not talking about the Cornetto trilogy or Edgar Wright as a whole.
I knew
but
that
it's
Hot
like,
Fuzz needed its own episode.
and it's probably the only one of his that truly deserves a
Which
full
is why I
episode.
wanted to do this, is I want to start talking about things that we truly, deeply love and are passionate about. And you love Hot Fuzz way more than I do. I love Hot Fuzz. Don't get me wrong. I do. But I do love Shaun of the Dead as well.
Yeah, and I do
But
too.
Hot Fuzz holds a special place because it's something for us. Like it's
Yeah.
like Revenge of the Sith holds a special place because we quote that movie. Like we sit there and walk up to each other and we either say
Hello there.
or we say
But I trust you had a pleasant trip. Fascist.
like that's what we say. Like Tad will walk past me. I'm busy doing something like bent over, like hands deep in everything in what I'm working on, and Ted will just walk past me and go fascist, and I'll just yell back hag. I've had to explain that joke so many times to people because they just look at me like, you just called your best friend a hag and he called you a fascist. Like, what the hell's going on here? Are you guys okay?
But Joyce Cooper is my favorite.
Oh yeah.
Like Dalton may be the MVP of the whole movie as an actor, but Joyce Cooper as a character, she's my jam.
I've come to realize that Dalton was my favorite part of that whole film.
He's so good, dude.
After
when
my-
he smiles
after my
next to the
rewatch,
portrait,
yeah.
it's so good. Also,
You son of a bitch, the greater good. You can't do just one. How dare you? Oh, I'm so mad at you right now.
How can this be for the greater good?
Here. Shut it.
it's great, though. I love this movie. So let's go ahead and hit the emails on the way out here. So first, if you want to email us, you can send an email to either Peter or myself. It's Peter at geekerybites.com or Tad, Tadd, at geekerybites.com. That is the way to contact the show. Reach out to us. Let us know.
Tad does the odds. I do the evens.
Yep. So the next one is mine.
So if you have anything to say about this next one, which we're about to reveal the topic, give us a little tension here. Email Tad if you want to keep it with just Tad, or if you want something that you don't want Tad to know about because he's producing the show, send it to me.
Yeah.
But so the topic next time.
Any question? I don't know if there should even be a question. It's Deadpool and Wolverine.
Goddamn right it is.
Like, I feel like our hands are tied. I know it'll be the day after the movie comes out.
Just hook it to my vein!
So if
Let's go for it.
so if you can't, I'm gonna take your buttons away. If you can't see the movie before the episode, then just wait and watch our episode after the movie.
Yep.
But I don't feel like there's any way we can't. I feel like we're gonna be.
We will literally be 2 days removed from seeing it.
I feel like we'll be bursting at the seams to be talking about this. So I think it'd be foolish to.
Yeah.
It'd be very foolish to not
Yeah.
be talking about it. So that's next time. On the next episode will be a fortnight from now. So join us then. But until then, I will sign off as I always do by saying, "Love what you love. Let your geek flag fly high, and to hell with anyone that'll tell you anything about guilty pleasures. Because if you love it, there's no guilt involved."
That's right. Yarp.
All right. See you guys.
Yarp.
All right, everyone in the chat, thank you all for joining. Jack, thanks for joining us. It sounds like it was your first episode joining us here live on Geekery Abides.
Yeah,
definitely,
thank you.
definitely good to see you. And you bring in some UK, legitimacy to the Hot Fuzz podcast. That's good. Gotta have some input. And also, I would love to go to England at some point and visit a town like this.
A village, not a town, a village.
A little village, yeah. I'll see if I can find me a living statue.
So you could punch him.
No, dude, I would take the biggest selfie next to a living statue. It's the coolest.
Why do I feel like a living statue would drive Hayden nuts?
I should hire one to stand outside of his
just-
house. All right, we'll see you guys in a couple weeks.
Bye, everyone.